Welcome, final expense agents and brokers, to the most popular audio training and podcast in the industry, The Lead Jerk Show, where we cut through the red tape and give you only the best in expert interviews. So strap in and grab a cold beverage and get ready to learn and earn. Now, it's my pleasure to introduce you to the one and only Matt Lowery, also known as The Lead Jerk.
All right, everybody. We are here today with John Duggar, and he hails from the great state of Kentucky. And, John, if you could you give us a little bit of, I know a lot about you and have met you face-to-face a couple of times and know a little bit about your history and where you came from. But for the people that are on the call that are not really initiated of that, can you give us a little background on how you kind of got into this insurance game, and then where it's led from there?
Well, I can pretty much do that easy. That's part of my presentation most of the time when I meet with people, and I basically just tell everyone that I got into insurance by accident. I worked for a major tire company. Worked there 18 years as a tire builder, and they closed the plant, and I found out I had a bad habit. I had to eat, and I couldn't move. I could have moved with the company, but I was, excuse me, I had shown horses all my life, and that's the reason I didn't want to move with the company, because of horse showing, and so I was trying to get a job. For the first time in my life, I'd never been laid off, and everything was steering me to insurance because I had, at the plant, I was a tire builder, but I was also I'd done pretty much everything in the local union, from steward to executive board member to time study engineer to vice president. But as a small local, 400 people, the president's job is kind of you do a little of everything. In addition to being the president and the time study engineer, I was the benefits representative. So I dealt with the benefits and Medicare and coordination of benefits and non-duplication and the subrogation and, a lot of different things with insurance and dealing with everything. So I had that on my plate, and
right.
So as I was trying to get jobs, that kept coming up, well, you need to do insurance. You need to do insurance. And I didn't want to do insurance. Dealing with insurance companies every day, I didn't like insurance companies.
Right.
My habit got the best of me, and I went to work for as a captive for a company, and then their office was about 40 miles south of me, and they promised me they'd show me the ropes and teach me how to sell insurance, teach me about insurance, and help me get my license and all that. And so I took the job. Basically because, I hadn't won the lottery or anything, so I had to work. And but I absolutely hated it. I just hated the insurance there. The business side of it, a lot of it turns out to be that it was that company. And nothing wrong with the company. All the companies are going to pay pretty, about the same, as far as the benefits for people. But it was the way they wanted to sell insurance. They wanted us to quote Of course, I had worked for the International Union, after the plant closed for quite a while. I was a field rep for the AFL-CIO.
Right.
And I had that background and and basically worked for myself. Even though the headquarters was in Charleston, West Virginia, I only went there one time. And you're basically working for yourself, even though I was on salary. Didn't have a boss. You make your own schedule, and once you get used to that, as as working for yourself, once you work for yourself, it's really hard to work with someone else.
It is, yep, it is.
And that's what they were telling me that insurance would provide for me, that I could do that, work for yourself. And but they wanted you to, but there was terms. I had a lot of contacts. I worked in the education division, AFL-CIO, and helping people get jobs and all. So I had contacts all over Kentucky, Indiana, Southern Illinois, and Northwest Tennessee of employers. And they were telling me about this worksite term is what they wanted me to do. They couldn't get anybody to do that, and that was going to be my leads and all this stuff. Well, what I found out was that as you got into doing it, they only pay you like 20 and 25% commission on that worksite term.
Yeah.
So that's why nobody wanted to do it.
Right.
But they wanted you to build your own book. Their leads was Project 100. Project, and I didn't know. I didn't know any better. They give you that book to fill out, with contacts and all. Hell, I filled out 3 of them. Pretty quick, people I knew, different states, contacts, and also, showing horses all my life, all over 7 or 8 states, I know people everywhere. So I was just filling this book out, I didn't realize that they were going to sick you on your friends and family and business associates to try to sell them insurance. And because I just didn't know. You don't know what you don't know. And but their big deal was to quote a rate over the telephone that only a marathon runner would qualify for, and get in the house and selling something else. And I just couldn't deal with that. No, bait and switch. And so I just said, well, I'm going to stay here until I get my license. Maybe I can use my license for something to get a job. It's not going to be this. And I did. When I went to Frankfort, Kentucky, and passed my test, I never went back to that company. So I would guess if you talk to them at that place, they probably wouldn't have very good things to say about me either. And
join the club.
And I set about trying to get a job. Again, it wasn't going to be insurance, and still everything was saying, well, you need to be in insurance, especially now that I had a license. Not only did I have a little bit of background in it, I was licensed. And I ran into a fellow just by pure dumb luck who had been a tire builder at the same tire company, but in Danville, Virginia. And he was also a division chairman for the union. So we had that in common, too. And he had quit and started an insurance broker. He said there had to be a better way. And he told me, come to work for me, do it my way, and you work hard for me for 6 months. He said, I know how hard it is to build tires. You work for me for 6 months, as hard as you did building tires. Do it my way. He said, at the end of that 6 months, if you can honestly tell me this is not for you, he said, I will get you a job. Not help you get a job, I will get you a job. And he'd become a multimillionaire, so that's the only reason I did it. I fully expected at the end of 6 months, get me out of here, you promised. But, his way was, he was from Virginia, my mom was from Virginia, and they talked just alike, and I would make fun of him. Of course, they say we talk funny. But the Virginia people really talk funny.
Everybody says that Southerners talk funny. That's right.
And but he would say, you meet their needs, you meet their budget, and you get out their house. He said, don't do nothing for commission. He said, if $25 a month meets their needs and their budget, he said, put on $25 a month. Don't try to sell them 50 or 100 because you're a good salesman. He said, and then the commissions will take care of themselves. He said, they'll tell friends about you, family. If they can raise that policy, they'll call you. So that appealed to me much better than the other company's way, and so I made it well past that 6 months. And so it turned out that this fellow that I'm talking about was Philip Hudgens. He was the founder of NAA. So I kind of went from the frying pan into the fire, but like I said, at that point I still didn't know any better. But they did start me at a higher commission, and this was at the time NAA was all about production too. This was before they were really into recruiting, so he did have the right idea to build a foundation first. And he and I just got along. We took to it. He was really good to me and showed me. And whatever anybody thinks of the NAA model, and I know, it's got its faults and it's got a lot of other stuff. Philip Hudgens is a salesman of selling life insurance. There's not many better. And that was the part I was interested in. And I took his training to heart and actually did it. They claim that I said that I was going to do it exactly like he said, so if it didn't work, I could blame him. That was the story they always told at meetings.
Right.
Now, I don't really remember saying that, although it does sound like something I would say. And it makes a better story than anything. But I mean, I just took to my first full month with them. I did $12,000 annual premium on 5 leads a week. I started at 5 leads a week.
Dang.
And my first full year with them, I did almost $260,000 AP. But by that time, I had upped it to 10 leads a week. So 10 leads a week, I did $260,000. My first full year in the insurance business, and that was with NAA. And I had moved my contract by production up to 80%, and I thought that was just wonderful. How in the world are they paying me 80%? But right. when you don't know things, you're happy. So I'm happy as I can be with 80%.
Ignorance is bliss sometimes. Yeah.
I was telling friends and stuff. I got a friend, a neighbor and stuff. She's a realtor. I'm telling them, how much do you make? I make 80%. She said, how do they pay you 80%? It's I don't know. It's only 100% of money, and the company's got to make something. I can't imagine that they're paying more than 1 year's premium to anybody, or why they would. And but it all worked out. And but slowly over the couple of years, my second full year, I had less production than my first full year. My second full year, I did a little over 200,000. But still on 10 leads a week, supposed to be, but the reason it was down, I wasn't getting them. They started having trouble getting me 10 leads a week. I started having to drive farther. The leads were hard to get, and then they were focusing on recruiting. Well, there was a guy about 50 miles north of me that decided he was going to build a team. Well, then they started preferencing the leads to his group. And I started having to drive, it wasn't nothing to drive 2.5 hours, to where my leads were. And then you might have 3 leads there, and then you might have to drive another hour for 2 more leads. And then you might have to drive an hour the other way to run 3 more of them. And it just kept getting worse and worse. And at the end of 05, end of 06, and into 06, I got a lead from a fellow that when I called it was an insurance agent. This was a mortgage protection lead. I called, and I'm thinking, of course, I didn't know at that time that agents would send in leads to see what kind of responses they got.
Right.
But that wasn't the case with this fellow. What happened with this fellow was he wanted a return of premium term, and he was big into the MA business, Medicare Advantage business. He was a manager, and he would, and he wanted a $250,000 30-year term, guaranteed level premium, return of premium, and he wanted to pay annual. And none of the companies he had that product. So I meet him at a restaurant in Evansville, Indiana, and I sell this guy a policy. And we start talking about what we're doing. He's telling me what he does, and I didn't know. I knew Medicare from back in my days of the union rep and dealing with the Medicare with our people. But we had we had benefits to cover what Medicare didn't pay, but we had to coordinate with that. That was about as much as I knew about it. And he was telling me Medicare Advantage, it had just come in, and it was all big and stuff. And I got to saying, well, what do you do, and how much do you make? And he got to show him, and he told me, he said, look, I didn't send that card in to recruit an agent. I said, well, okay, but, what do you do? And he got telling me, he said, well, here's what I do. And so my thing was leads. I was having trouble with leads. And he said, I said, well, where do you get your leads? And they said, I said, well, how much are leads? He said, well, leads are free. And I said, well, how do I get in on this? And so he said, well, I'll tell you what. He said, when you have a free day, just call me up and you just come ride with me. And just go around and ride with me and just see what we do and see if that interests you at all. So I did that one day, rode with him and saw what he was doing with the Medicare Advantage, and it was all guaranteed issue. And at that time, it didn't pay like it ended up paying, but it was paying like $225 for everybody you could enroll, and everybody gets it. You know, there's no underwriting other than the ESRD,
right.
and the leads are free, and so I started doing it. I said, yeah, I want to do this. And I cut back on my leads, which I think NAA was happy because they was having a heck of a time getting them for me anyway. And I started doing that, and I just was rolling. And I ended up becoming his, in that regional office, I ended up becoming their #1 agent with Medicare Advantage. And that was with Pyramid Today's Options at the time, which they had a really good plan. And I ended up adding Coventry and WellCare, and I was just and I was buying preset leads for the WellCare. Had a really good plan for the dual eligibles. I was buying preset leads out of a company in Ohio, and for those, and it was nothing for me to sell 15. And WellCare at that time was paying $440 in enrollment, and
right.
It was there wasn't anything for me to sell 12 to 15 Medicare Advantage in a week, and especially the dual. I could sell them all year for the duals, and the duals. I found that those folks would the ones on full Medicaid. They know everybody else that's on Medicaid, and you go in there and sell them.
That's right.
Yep. 2 or 3 numbers. Hey, you need to go see this guy. And they was just rolling. And almost too easy, really. And because it's not selling, and it's order taking, and so but I was running into seniors then and all that and stuff, and none of the companies that I was dealing with had a very good final expense product. They would tell you about selling final expense and cross selling and stuff, but everything they had was just outrageous. So then I meet a guy with Lincoln Heritage.
It gets interesting now, folks.
So I added Lincoln Heritage, and believe it or not, Lincoln Heritage was far better priced than the stuff that those Medicare Advantage companies had.
Oh yeah, still
and
probably
so
is.
I was getting leads from them, and what I would do, I was running appointments for. I would run 4 appointments a day. I was doing the preset leads Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. I would run a 10, 12, 2, and 4. I said I do 2 hours on the Medicare Advantage because I always did a Medicare one-on-one. It doesn't matter if they had Medicare Advantage or not. That stuff had never been explained to people. You had Humana agents going in there and telling people that the way they got paid was they got your Part B premium, and there's all kinds of crazy stuff. And so I would just start over at square one like nobody ever heard of Medicare. So my appointments took longer. And Lincoln Heritage was a pretty good cross-sell for it, and then so I would get the preset appointments for those 3 days, but then I would run Lincoln Heritage leads on Monday. And so that was kind of of course, it turned out that they were probably the worst leads I've ever worked in any business is the Lincoln Heritage leads. But the one thing about the Lincoln Heritage leads, there were so many people with them that were on Medicaid.
Right.
So it was a natural cross-sell for me to sell the dual eligible product I had, even if they couldn't buy life insurance. And so that's why I kept getting Lincoln Heritage leads, even though they weren't very good. But then in September of 2008, the MIPA regulations that came in and really put a damper on how you could do business for that.
Well, let me stop you there for a second, John, and ask you about that, because with the way you were doing Medicare Advantage at that time, there was no stipulations or restrictions on when somebody can move, right? I mean, there still isn't now.
You didn't have the 48-hour stuff, and you didn't have the scope of appointment. You didn't have any of that stuff.
Okay, all right, go ahead.
And you know, the thing about it is, even though I became good at it and became educated, I actually ended up getting certified by CMS to train people to sell MA plans. But when I first started doing it, after going out with that guy for a few days, I really could have damaged some people. Fortunately, I didn't. I think there was a few people that I did put in worse situations, but after I realized I was able to go back and get them fixed. But they were just hiring any agent to go out and do that stuff. That's one reason the MIPA stuff came about. Because they were turning you loose, you know, this is with very little information. You know, it's amazing it didn't mess up a whole bunch of people. And they just really didn't have a clue. But so when that came about, I was looking for other things, and I had already found out that Lincoln Heritage wasn't a very good price product, you know. And I had already picked up a contract from Scott Burke. I met Scott about at that same time. I had picked up a contract for Forethought because they would cover some people that at that time Lincoln Heritage, and I don't know if they've changed the rules or not, but like one of them at that time was Plavix. You couldn't get a person-level coverage on Plavix. And I picked up Forethought just simply because of that. I had a guy that was on Plavix, and he had a Medicare Advantage plan with me, and his wife did too, and he didn't want a 2-year wait, you know, on coverage, and so I got that Forethought contract just to write that guy, and then I got replaced. I had a Lincoln Heritage policy, got replaced. She had her Medicare Advantage with me, but Lincoln Heritage, it got replaced by an agent selling Rural Neighbors. Never heard of Rural Neighbors.
Ah, that's how you found him. Okay,
and,
all right.
Well, I started researching. When I talked to the lady, you know, and I called, she was like, "Hey, John, it's just cheaper, John." I said, "Hey, I didn't call you to get on you about it. I need to, you know, if they're beating me that bad, I got to start looking at this." And in researching Rural Neighbors led me to Travis Tubbs.
Right.
So my first contact with Travis was to, how do I get a Rural Neighbors contract, you know? And at that time, he was going on about everything. Well, Travis was real big. A lot of people don't know, Travis was really big in the Medicare Advantage.
Yeah, he was. Yeah.
And he was, and we talked about all that and stuff. And Travis and I, you know, he turns out he's one, you know, he is my best friend in the insurance business, and today, and is one of my best friends, period, in life. And but we hit it off from that, you know, from the very first conversation. And we talked, and he said, "Well, I'm gonna tell you, I'm hooking up with this company called Equita about leads. You know, leads is our lifeblood, you know. If you're going to do this, you know, everybody that's in this knows." And he said, "For leads, no, I don't want to deal with them. I already dealt with them. I dealt with them, EMG, which is Equita Mortgage Group."
Right.
And a couple of years before, when NAA was having trouble getting me leads, I had already looked into Equita to get leads, EMG, and didn't have a very good experience with them. And Travis, "Well, no, this is different. It's the same people, but the final expense side is supposed to be different." And I said, "Well, you know, okay, you know, I got to do something. You know, this MIPA is going to kill my business." And so that's kind of how I got with them. And it was a rough start. You know, I mean, everything wasn't great with Equita. And where Travis and I got along from day one, Ryan Karras and I did not. You know, and there was a lot of things, and they finally they cut my leads off. You know, it was you know, this wasn't working for them, wasn't working for me, Nothing was working. Travis stayed in my corner. Don't know why, don't know. And at this time, Travis and I hadn't met. From the time I had the first phone conversation with Travis, I didn't actually meet Travis until probably 8 months later. And, but, it didn't matter. He was on my side, the whole time and through this. And, and telling, Equita, you're wrong to cut his leads off. And, but then I had by this time, it was the fall of 2008. And every Medicare Advantage agent had what's called their November file. And that's where people you meet with throughout the year who are not SEP or anything, but you could get them an AEP. And, so you'd have your file. I'll see you in November, get their information and all that. Well, one thing the MIPA regulations allowed, the CMS allowed at the end of 2008, even though they did the scope of appointment and all, they allowed you to finish up that file that you had put together before these regulations came in. Now, you had to do a scope of appointment on all of them, but you could get it once you got there.
Right.
So that was my last AAP, was in the end of 2008. So I kind of paused my leads anyway with Equita, and I finished up that, and I did like almost 100 MA plans in that AAP, my last one. And then into January, at that point, it used to go all the way to the end of January, but I was into it, and by this thing, January 09, I just decided, look, I am gonna sell out to this final expense. That's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna quit fooling with this Medicare Advantage completely. I'm gonna do final expense if it kills me. I'm going to do everything I can. This is going to be my career, and this is we're going to sink or swim with this. And and I was going to start February 1st, all in February 1st, finishing up tying up loose ends on the Medicare Advantage. January of 2009, I wrote, even doing that and kind of part-time and final expense, I did a little over $6,000 of final expense, AP.
Right.
Well, February 1st on that, I'm all in. Well, to me, your threshold, and even when I was in AA, your threshold is $10,000 a month AP.
True. Yep, I agree.
To me, that's just, it doesn't mean anything to anybody else, but it does to me. I hold myself accountable to $10,000, at least. And, we had the ice storm of the century hit us the end of January of 2009. I was out of power for 2 weeks, just miserable, I found out I wasn't cut out to be a pioneer. And then we had a meeting, we had an Equita meeting in Indianapolis about the third week of February, right after I got my power cut on and stuff. And that was the first time I met Ryan Karras, Eric Brentis, Travis, Dan Runge, Tim Wenders, although I talked to Tim and Dan on the phone and stuff, and those were my mentors in this business. Philip Hudgens put a foundation on me to how to sell insurance. Travis Tubbs is probably the best final expense agent in the world. I've never met him, and I thought that Dan, now that I've been doing this all these years, I say it even more so. Now, Tim Wenders will be more production than anybody, but Tim Wenders will tell you himself that he couldn't compete with Travis if Travis got the number of leads and worked like he does.
Right.
And Dan Runge at the time, and a lot of people don't know him now and stuff, but it was Travis, Dan Runge, and Tim Wenders. Three of the best final expense agents, period. Dan Runge is good. Dan and I, personality-wise, and the way we run our business are probably closer than anybody else. And, of course, Dan's not one of these people that washed out. Dan is a big softball thing. His kids were in softball and stuff. And Dan got a job through the state of Indiana as I'm not sure exactly what his title is, but like commissioner of softball. And that's why he doesn't do final expense now. I mean, I'd be the same way. I've shown horses all my life. If the governor of Kentucky wants to make me commissioner of horse showing, hey, I'm out of here, guys. You gonna pay me to do what I love to do? Yeah, I'm gonna go do it, and that's what he's doing. And learning from those people. But the shocker to me at that meeting, I sat down with Dan. Dan and I had dinner together, and Dan had done $250,000 AP the year before, and so in 2008. He spent $50,000 on leads. Maybe
that sounds kind of like a low ROI.
But I was flabbergasted by that. I had never run across that. And then I talked to Tim Wenders. He spent $50,000 a year before on leads. And Travis, that's why they were getting into Equita and for the leads and stuff. But I had never seen that level of commitment. You want to do what we do? This is how you do it. And it was a huge eye opener to me. And to get with those people, and now I can say, Eric Brennan is one of the most honorable people I've ever met in my life. President,
right?
He's owner now of Equita. Ryan Cass, he and I became fast friends, even though it didn't start out that way. Tim Wenders, but Tim Wenders, Travis Tubbs, and Nan Runge, we just hit it off from day one. We're all a little bit alike. Got a little bit of rebel in us, and some say more than a little, but it was, and when you can. This is a lonely job, as you know. I mean, I know you haven't been in this but a couple of years now.
Yeah, it's lonely. Yeah,
it's a lonely job. And to have people that you can talk to that do what you do is just, you can't put a price on that. And because you can't talk to other people about it. You can't talk to your friends about it because they think you're making these stories up.
Yeah, they don't believe you.
And that's all for you. That didn't happen. Well, yes, it did. And you tell a final expense guy that, and he'll say, "Oh yeah, let me tell you what mine was."
Right. Yeah.
But anyway, the threshold. Well, 10,000 to me, like I said, has always been a threshold. Well, that 2 weeks without power really put me behind. And on the last day of February of 2009, I wrote a policy on myself to get me at $10,000 for that month. And I haven't lapsed it, though. I still do have it. So
I was going to say, John.
But to get to 10,000, and I'm proud to say, I haven't been under 10,000 a month since that day either.
And that was how long ago?
That was February 2009.
There you go.
So I haven't been under $10,000 in a month since January of 2009. And that to me is about, but that's kind of what brought me to the point, and that was getting and the leads. But the big deal with Equita is the leads. Leads in the same area every Saturday, like clockwork. Was getting that, and then that's and then working with Travis, as his team, and but that's how we got to this point. But then 2 years ago, I was kind of looking for a change. Everybody wants to think that I just followed Travis wherever he was going and stuff. But I had been in conversations with Scott 6 months before that happened. I didn't even know that was going to happen. About maybe making a career shift and going into working out of a funeral home in Evansville, Indiana. Had to be in the funeral home a couple of days a week, and I had been discussing that with my wife, and she wasn't as on board with it as I was, and so it was just kind of, I don't know if I had a little burnout or what was going on, but then when when Travis and Scott formed FVX and was going, and I guess I was their first recruit, although Travis didn't put no pressure on me or anything about it. And I discussed it. I discussed it with Eric Brennan at Equita because, not only did it work for him and all that stuff, but we're friends. And, Eric said, hey, John, if you want to do that, have at it, man. There's no hard feelings. And so kind of jumped in with both feet with Travis and Scott, and it's been, it was a good career move. I made more money that year than I'd ever made 2 years ago, and I made more last year than that. And it's and I'm basically still doing the same thing. I pride myself on consistency. That's more important to me than most of the other stuff. Equita had a thing about a 2,000 weekly streak. They had the 10,000 monthly, and of course, I guess I know I was the number one on that. I don't know who is now, since I left them, but they had a 2,000 submitted week to minimum at least $2,000. I went 208 weeks on that, 4 years
straight. Yep.
And
I don't think it's been broke yet either.
No, I don't think so. And I'm more proud of myself on doing like that and doing the same thing every week. Jim Wright out in California teases me sometimes. He'll say that he goes back and listens to some of the recordings they have at the Equita University, and he'll say, "It sounds just like you now." So you say the same stuff. You say the same stuff now as you said then.
Well, you got to be.
I don't know if he means it as a compliment or not, but I take it as one.
I'm sure. You got to be a creature of habit and final expense.
And that's just how I do business. And I do the same thing every week. All the time. I don't recruit agents. I don't have agents working for me. I make money from my own pen. I set my own appointments. Submit my business, and it's things couldn't be better. This is to me is the best career you could have. I like it.
John, it's funny. It's funny what you were saying a while ago. I thought you were fixing to tell me that agent that when you went to see that did the Medicare Advantage, I thought you were fixing to say that was Travis there for a second. I was like, well, that's how y'all met, because I was unsure even how y'all met. So, well, and look, let me go ahead and get you to, because I didn't do it in the beginning. I meant to do that, and I forgot, but it's FEXcontracting.com, correct?
Yeah, that's who I'm with and stuff, If somebody, I do help them with anything they ask me to do, like help training agents and stuff. I do it because they ask me to.
Sure.
And, and because they're friends, we're not just business partners, we're friends, and it's, when we're having an FEX meeting in Indianapolis the end of this month, and my wife is going with me this year. She didn't go last year, but she's going this year, and after the conference over, we're staying the weekend and going to spend time with Travis and Ramey.
Right.
Because they're because we're friends, and we go to the Smoky Mountains for a few days in October, and Travis and Ramey goes to that. Like I said, and that if I left FEX tomorrow, that stuff would continue. Just like you're not with us anymore, but you and I are still friends.
Exactly.
Donnie,
exactly.
I still talk to the people at Equita all the time. Chase, Joe, Eric, Ryan, Bobby, they're my friends, and they'll continue to be my friends. And they, Travis and I'll be friends from now on, no matter what, I mean, if Travis decides to sail away on his yacht and not do this anymore, I'll catch him when he's in port sometimes.
I hear you. Well, let me ask you, John, what as far as what was your biggest hurdle you say that you had to overcome while maybe when you first got an insurance or the transition to final expense? I mean, was it smooth, or what was the one thing that you could think of that that you had to just say, all right, I'm just going to plow through this?
Well, you know what? This all came easier to me than I ever would have dreamed. And to my mom, too. If she was still alive today, she would tell you, I can't believe he sells insurance for a living. It was, like I said, my first full month selling life insurance, I did 12,000 AP on 5 leads a week. But the biggest thing is getting leads.
Right.
Prospecting, people to talk to, learning that that's a commitment. The hardest single thing I ever had to overcome is in setting appointments was to learn to say no.
Right.
Also learning when to cut. When to trash a lead. B-backs. We all go to people, I got to think about it and stuff, and then, we'll call them back, or we'll mail them something, we'll stay in touch and stuff. And I did that. Learning to stop doing that.
Yeah, I learned that from you. I just don't do it anymore.
When I leave a home, the lead goes in the trash. I don't care if they're sitting on the edge of the couch, almost ready to sign up. The next contact will be from them. If I leave there without it, I'm not calling you back. But the hardest thing is setting appointments. And there was a guy within AA. He was one of the top guys. And I went down and I went to their convention, and that's the big thing about the meetings and stuff. I don't care what goes on in meetings. Every meeting you go to, the people, the speakers, everybody says the same things.
Right.
The networking away from that. The contacts you make, you and I and Donnie didn't become friends sitting in a meeting. We became friends having a beer together.
Exactly.
But I went, had a beer with this guy. On the point, he said, look, you got to set them one day out. Don't set your appointments more than one day out. Which just makes sense. But he would, and I would say, but it's a natural thing when you're setting appointments. When we're wanting to see these people, we want to sell them insurance. So if I'm calling them on Tuesday, and I'm saying, hey, I need to see you. Okay, well, I can see you at 5 o'clock Friday. Your natural thing is to say, okay, see you Friday. Because, we don't want to settle. And we want to be there. Well, they ain't going to be there Friday.
No.
And this guy would tell me, he said, you got to tell them no. I'm going to be there tomorrow. And I need to see you tomorrow. And the person said, I can't see you tomorrow, but how about Wednesday? How about Thursday? To say, no. I ain't going to be there Thursday. I'm going to be there tomorrow. And they, what he told me was, he said, look, and this was mortgage protection leads too, so they do have a little bit more built-in excuse because you were dealing with people who work,
Right.
It's a little bit different than what we do now, but still his thing was, if they are interested, they are going to make time to see you.
It's a good filter, yeah.
He said if they're not interested, it doesn't make any difference if you see them Friday. And he said, now you got to, and I got this saying about a BS meter from him. He said, you got to develop your BS meter. He said, sometimes there's reasons. Sometimes they just can't meet with you tomorrow. and it's completely legit. So you tell them you'll call them next time you're there. Don't go ahead and schedule, but tell them you will call them back. He said, if that reason's legit, next time you call, they're going to find a way to meet with you. And that was very hard. That for me, I had to make myself take this guy's advice. And it was very hard for me. That's if you say the biggest hurdle, that right there. Learning to tell people who's agreeing to meet with you, but on a different day than you're saying, to tell them, no, I'm not going to be there day tomorrow. I'm going to be there tomorrow.
Yeah, I mean, you're a busy man. You know, you're seeing people tomorrow.
And it amazed me, though, after he did that, and I started doing it, it amazed me that people would change. Well, okay, if you're only going to be here tomorrow, I think I can work it out to see you tomorrow.
Yeah, you sure can.
And that kind of shocked me that happened and stuff. And you know, and like I said, you get better at it. I mean, I'm 100 times better at it now than I was then, and hopefully I'm gonna be better at it this time next year than I am right now. You know, as you learn and you go on, and you know, I door knock. One of the things you sent me was what marketing methods that you employ. I door knock, but I hate door knock. I hate it with a passion.
Right.
I set my appointments, but I will door knock. The ones I can't get in touch with, I do very well. I sold 2 policies yesterday door knocking. It doesn't make me like it any better. It's a necessary evil. I've gotten pretty good at door knocking. I still don't like it. But I'm gonna see the people. You know, I've got pretty much a full day scheduled for tomorrow, but I will carry my leads with me in that county. And if somebody's not home tomorrow, if I get no-showed, then first I've got a couple that don't have phone numbers and I can't find phone numbers, so I will door knock those definitely.
Right.
First thing I'll do, before I even door knock, though, if I have a no-show, if I have time, before I go door knock, if I don't have some that didn't have a number, I'll pull over, and I'll call them again. I'll try to make an appointment for right then by phone before I'll door knock, because door knocking is my last resort. And,
mine too, yep.
And so, but, you know, you just got to do what works for you. And, you know, my system, you know, my 4 questions presentation that I use all the time is it's not really a presentation as much as it is an outline. You know, I'm a played basketball all my life, big basketball fan and stuff. And if I was a coach, I would coach motion offense because it's a read and react. Well, that's kind of what my presentations is, a read and react. My presentation is an outline. I'm not going to say the same thing at every one of them. I'm going to
right.
It's
the stage, definitely.
But the conversation is going to go by what that person's interested in. Which one of those things is hitting? I had a lady yesterday. One of them yesterday was just her big thing was whole life. What's whole life? Everybody's always told me I need whole life, so that's what I want. I said, well, that's what I'm going to recommend for you too. She said, well, why? I said, well, I'm going to do something different than the rest of the people have told you. I'm going to explain to you why. And I did my regular thing about, you know, term is temporary insurance. Nothing wrong with term insurance. If you have a temporary need, we're going to talk about term for you. But you told me you want this for your funeral, and we're not going to cover your funeral. I will not even sell you a term policy for a funeral for your final expenses or something. If and I tell you all the time, when I get done explaining this, if you still want term for final expenses, I will give you a number. Somebody will sell that to you because it's not going to be me. I have yet to have somebody ask for that number after it's explained to them. And then that lady told me the same thing yesterday. Well, nobody has ever put it to me that way. Explain to me the difference and why. And that's what my thing is, I'm not very good at sales. I'm not, well, I shouldn't say I'm not very good at sales. I would say I am pretty good at sales. But my selling is different than other the sales come from educate. I feel more like I'm educating people on what's out there. But that's one reason my presentation and what I do is designed like it is, because I'm not very good at overcoming objections.
Well, John,
everything I do is designed to not have objections.
That's what I was going to go to. The way that it's laid out, it's designed to draw objections up front so you can work past them. So by the time you're done, right, there shouldn't be anything to object to.
Right. We're done. But the key to, if there's a secret, everybody wants the easy button. And I told somebody the other day, there's a whole lot of work goes into making this look this easy.
Got that right.
If there's a key to anything I do, and I tell it all the time, and I've said it on the calls, with the FDX calls when you were on there, or any time if I talk to agents, anytime, never do it. I do not present to uninterested people.
That's right. Or
find out up front their why. Without a why, I am out of that house in 5 minutes. I am not going to sit and have a conversation with the person about the weather. That may come up as we're talking, it's making small talk. But only after I find out, why did you send in this card? Why do you have me in your home? Once the why is out there, then I do a presentation. Now, it ain't all that easy. It ain't just like, Travis says that sometimes he makes fun. I said, well, John goes in and just says, hey, tell me why I'm here. If you can't say, well, okay, it ain't like that. It's,
yeah.
Sometimes you have to draw that why out. And people will say, what do you say to get them to that point? I don't know. Because no two situations are the same. What interests the person I saw at 10 o'clock may not interest the person I saw at 11 or 12. But now there is a basic to all of them. They all did send in a card about final expenses, burial, life insurance, or something. And so I do have, or tele-lead. I use some of your tele-lead. They all do have something in common.
Right.
They have expressed an interest in what I do. And then from there on, you just go from that. And, I guess we probably talked longer than you intended it to be, but, whatever you...
No, it's fine. It's good stuff. I mean, when you're talking about doing a presentation and, overcoming hurdles, probably from what I've listened to you in the past and kind of what I do, that's probably helped me the most to come over the biggest hurdles, figure out what to say when I'm in front of them to move it along, And like you said, sometimes people can be shy too. Sometimes they'll come right out and tell you. Other times, like you said, you got to kind of grind it out of them. But yeah, I'm out of there too. If they don't tell me why I'm there, I give them a chance, and then I'm booking it.
I'm not really a student of the game. I'm a student of people. I'm interested in people. I love what I do on my field days. I hate my days like today. I hate my appointment setting days. I hate days like that. I hate getting on that phone, but I have to. The service work, I was telling you before we started recording, been doing some service work today on some companies that didn't draft properly and stuff. I hate that crap. That stuff, but that stuff gets me to my good days. Tomorrow I've got a day of appointments. I like that. I like driving on. One thing they talk about telesales and stuff, and I've kind of changed my position a little bit on it. I used to say can't be done. I know some people are doing pretty good at it now, so I'm not as so much on that as. But that wouldn't be for me. I don't care if they perfected selling it by telephone and everybody wanted to buy it by telephone. I am not going to sit here in this damn office all day long on the telephone, and I guess I would if it became that way until I could find me something else to do.
Right.
But I am not going to do that. I mean, that is, I enjoy, tomorrow I'm going to, my first stop is fairly close, My first stop is 30 miles from me. You know, I like meeting people. I'm looking forward to meeting these folks. That's an enjoyable thing to me. And if it's not, this may not be the job for a person. You know, I like finding out about people. I like meeting different people every day. But yesterday, this lady, she said, starting off, I'm just wanting to get some information. I ain't buying nothing today. I ain't buying nothing. I said, okay, I ain't selling nothing. And I said, I went through, there are 3 reasons. People send in the card. First reason, I said, we find over the years I've been doing this, people send in the card to, because they don't have anything in place to take care of the funeral, the burial, the final expenses. And she said, that's right. So I stopped.
There's your reason.
I didn't go to reason 2 or 3. I said, you don't have anything now. Nope. I used to have it at work. Not working now. They took my insurance away. But then she's the one that volunteered. And everybody always told me just my whole life. So then we went through. I went through my 4 reasons. The cost. Everybody we meet with is on a fixed income. She's nodding her head. You got that right. If you're not saying that, you need to learn to say that every time, because everybody we meet with is on fixed income, and you need to register that with them. And so we was going on, but her big thing was about the whole life and the difference, and she was going, I'm just getting information. I'm just getting my information. I ignored it. Got through everything. Health qualified her. Recommend her Trinity. Okay, I'll take that. Third Trinity. Got to do part of this by telephone. Got her approved. Telephone. Are you going to need a check? I said, I just need a voided check. And I said, I don't even need your voided check. Just let me see your checkbook here. I'll write down your right check number, and you can keep the check.
There you go.
Did all that and got done, and she said, I tell you what, she said, I got 2 more people for you, too. I hadn't said a word about referrals. She volunteered that information. This was a lady who said she wasn't going to buy nothing when I got there.
Right. They always do.
Let that, and I'm going to, let me see if I can play this for you, and I'm going to talk while she says her name. This is this lady, and I'm telling you, this is just yesterday. And I didn't say a word about referrals. And we got done, and she told me she had 2 more for me. Today, I get this message from her. Let me see if I can.
Listen, present, send, press. First saved message.
I'm going to talk while she's saying her name so that nobody hears her number.
All right.
Here she is.
I talked to my brothers, and they want to know what day you will be in this area next week. You give me a call back. 7082049.
Leave me that message today.
Dang.
Never ask for referrals, and I don't. Everybody always asks me, how do you get so many referrals? I don't know. I think it's because I don't sell. I'm not high pressure. I educate people. I tell them what's out there. Whatever reason, I connect with my people. And like I said, that was a lady who wasn't going to buy anything when I got there.
Well, yeah, and I think it goes back to having your, what your end goal in mind is to help these people too. So, it's not all about.
Well, not really.
I get a bad rap sometimes about being.
Not really.
But
and I'm going to say, Josh Ory and I, we're good friends now too. But Josh and I butted heads over that in the beginning when he first got on the forum and talking about helping people. That's kind of a pet peeve of mine. People say they want to do this.
I know.
And no, I don't do this to help people. I do this to make a living. But I am a humanist. I'm a union guy. I am an advocate.
Right.
I love helping people. Yeah. And I love the fact that what we do helps people.
The byproduct.
But it's a byproduct of it. I do love that fact that we help people. That ain't why I do it, though. If you want to help people, go to the hospital. Down at the homeless shelter.
That's right.
We're in business. I'm there to sell them something. If that sounds cold, it just sounds cold. If it sounds cold, it ain't it ain't coming out right. Because I love the fact that we help people. But that ain't my driving force.
Right. And John, I've heard
nobody. No, I help people. We volunteer, and we donate money to different causes and things like that. And you met my wife. Yeah, she's one of the most helpful people in the world. But one thing's my job, and one thing is that. And we and you have to keep that focus, I think, to do that. And it's. Because, this is a frustrating job, too. You can...
Yeah.
You can just as easily go in and meet with somebody today that wants you to marry their daughter. And 3 days later, they get your phone number blocked when you try to call them. Don't want nothing else to do with you. Sometimes it just happens, that you don't know what happened, that switch got turned off, and it's... But you don't get too high, don't get too low. It's
Well, one thing that helped me a lot was the saying you got, and you got it in my head, and I don't guess it's ever going to leave, was if I'm having a day where I'm not hitting the numbers like I want, I'm doing okay. Number one, there's always tomorrow, right? But also, you would always say, well, I'm not building tires.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
That helps me a lot.
When things aren't good, that's something I tell myself. We all want to sit around and talk about how hard we work in this job and stuff, and get the feeling sorry. And something, long day. I left my house at 9 o'clock yesterday morning, and we was going to do this interview last night. And didn't get in till 8 p.m. and drove 175 miles yesterday. Good day at $3,600 AP yesterday. That's a good tired. That Tim Winters called it. That's a good tired. Out all day and you got to fax in all these applications. A bad tired is you do the same thing. You didn't sell nothing.
Yeah, and you're not faxing.
You're just as tired, but I ain't got any apps to fax in. It's. But I tell myself that, if I get the feeling poor-mouthed myself or something, hey, this ain't building tires. I know what hard work is, and this ain't it.
Right.
And
well, John, let me ask you something here on carriers, and I always preface this with, hey, this is how this may be right now, as at this moment in 2015. It is subject to change, as we all know, going forward, as these carriers change stuff for the good, some for the bad, some never change. But what, and maybe touch on some of the ones that you've liked in the past too, but do you have a favorite carrier now?
Well, I do. As far as, Royal Neighbor is my favorite carrier. I'm not using them very much anymore. But Royal Neighbors was my go-to company for 6 years. And mainly, and this is something I tell people all the time, and I get agents all the time now, as the longer they're in the business, they don't understand, but once they get 6, 8, 10 months behind them, they start saying, I'm starting to understand why J.D. says he wants to work with companies that makes his job easier and not harder.
Right.
And my job my job easier. I had one day, service work. This one today, I had the company. Actually, the one I had to go out and spend time on today, the company screwed that up. Didn't draft properly. The two departments argued among themselves whose fault it was and all that stuff. But I'm in the middle. I got to go out here. I got to get help to lay as a direct express card, so you can't put money on it and just have them redrafted. So she's got to get a money order. I had to go get cash from her, help her get a money order. I had to send in a new pack form. This is all their fault, though. They're supposed to drafted this lady on the third Wednesday.
Right.
Which was in June, was the 17th of June. They tried to draft it yesterday.
Damn.
So me trying to get all that fixed, well, at the same time today, right before I left, I had a fella call me, a Royal Neighbors client. Been a client 2 or 3 years. Him and his wife. Then they draft on different days. But he calls me right before I'm heading out, and he said, "Hey, Don," and his wife drafts on the 3rd, which is Friday. He doesn't draft till like 21st or something. And he said, "I changed my bank account. And you think we can stop that Royal Neighbors draft? And I got my new account information for you." I said, "Let's just get them on the phone." I said, "Because they're going to talk to you anyway." Did a 3-way into Royal Neighbors, got the customer service rep on the phone. They said, "Oh yeah, we won't draft till Friday. That's plenty of time. 2 days." And new account, gave him the new account information. Everything was done. They did a voice signature with him. We was on the phone less than 5 minutes. Everything's taken care of. This other company, I got to go out and run around all over the place trying to get it handled. Now I got to mail it in, so stuff like that. Companies that make your job easier instead of harder. Now, Royal Neighbors, the rate increase they had 2 years ago, I didn't make Royal Neighbors reward trip this year, first time in 5 years.
Right.
But that was mostly because of that rate increase that they did, and they kind of priced themselves out of the way. Although I still got pretty close to make it. I got within $10,000 to make it, and I was hoping to make it, but I didn't. But now this voice signature thing they did in December has got me not using them hardly at all. Although I did write 4 Royal Neighbors yesterday, but they're the EL, and but.
Maybe a little while before they had that down. Well, they needed
because as they're getting it better about that, I may and you don't have to do it. So I used to have they had what's called the Elite Agent Program, and we could do a phone interview or not. And I was one of the people on that Elite program, and that was just. If they would do that now, I would go back to. Well, I couldn't go back to writing them like I used to because of the price increase, but they would still be. Because they make my job easier. If you have a problem, they will fix it. Every company has problems. There's not a company out there that's not going to create you problems sometimes. But it's how they handle them. And they will handle their problem. As opposed to the other end of the spectrum, you look at like Transamerica.
Yep.
You forget to check a box. Or they send you a HIPAA form that has Monumental still on it.
That's monumental paper, sir. You can't use that on
after the fact. And we can't even process. I just had one of those. I made, a month or so ago, I made that mistake. I said, okay, well, go ahead and let me know. It was a questionable case. The boy had seizures and stuff, I wasn't even sure if you're going to get approved with them. And I said, well, why don't you go ahead and let me know, whether you're going to prove this kid. And then I call him a kid. He's about 30 years old. And I said, I'll get that signed on delivery, amendment on delivery. No. Can't even proceed. Won't take another step till you get us a proper HIPAA form. If it is a proper HIPAA form, it says the same thing. It says Monumental on it. And it also says Transamerica on it. It don't just say Monumental. It says Transamerica too. Might as well be talking to a wall. That's making my job harder. Oxford. just stopped allowing replacements in Kentucky. When do they tell us? After you do a replacement. Not before.
Yeah.
Not before. That makes my job harder. And I am not going to place business with you. I mean, if somebody else is if Rural Neighbors is $5 higher than Oxford, I'm recommending Rural Neighbors. If somebody wants to, if somebody wants to come in after me and replace it, we'll fine. Have at it. But it ain't going to be me. And it's. But I would actually, in those cases, I will tell the person.
Right.
I will tell the person the truth. I can put you at this company that's $5 cheaper. This company here is so much easier to work with.
There you go.
And I'm also doing that to preempt the next guy, too, to come in and pay cheaper because I've told them why, and it's just, but it's still relating with people, finding out what you wanted up front. If the person ain't interested in your product, it don't make any difference if it's $5 higher or $5 cheaper. Right. And so once they're interested in what you're doing, then you can explain to them why you're recommending what you're recommending. Right now, I really don't have a go-to company. I probably lead with Trinity now because mostly because they take the Direct Express card. So I don't have to banking information and stuff. Whatever you got, we're going to do it. And but American Continental, if they had better rates, they'd be my go-to company. If they've
been coming on strong though. I mean, I've been writing a little bit of them. They're ever since 5-Star had their increase and they closed off some stuff and they started doing the subscription.
But if I'm going to gravitate to a company that makes my job easier, not harder.
Exactly.
And and that's just it doesn't matter how great your rates are if you're difficult to work with. And
that just improves your persistency too. I mean, it helps keep it on the book.
And it's always something, with a company, that you just like Transamerica. I've been writing a little more of them lately because they do have a niche. But
they do.
I wrote one yesterday. I wrote a Transamerica yesterday. Lady has COPD and stuff. I still haven't submitted it yet because I'm going to go over it again tonight before I fax it in with a fine-tooth comb.
I know the feeling.
Make sure I hadn't missed anything. And I did that. We were on vacation. Went to South Dakota week before last, but I wrote a Transamerica the week before that, and her draft was going to be today. And I went over that thing because I knew I was going to be out of town. And got an email while I was in South Dakota. I saw that it was approved on Monday. Wrote it like on Thursday. It was approved. I saw it on the website. It was approved on Monday. Well, on Tuesday, I got an email from them. And policy issue. I had checked that she did not have coverage now. But I did not check that it wasn't a replacement. Well, of course, to them, that's a huge deal. And of course, I sent them an email saying, she ain't got coverage. How's she going to replace it?
Right.
I mean, it's like they don't even have logic. How would you not know that answer is no? Even if I didn't check it. She don't have coverage. The only answer
it all comes back on the producers.
But in that case, they handled that and didn't make me do an amendment.
Hallelujah.
Shocked me. But, it's just, not handling little things for you like that is you know, when you get an email from a certain company and you just hate to open it. Oh, no. You know what I mean.
That's one of them.
So.
Well, let me ask you on some of these apps. You know, there's really only two companies doing this. You know, the SSB billing forms, and I'm using them more now to help with that. You know, the first and the third, second, third, and fourth Wednesday drafts and stuff. And it seems like it's working. Are you gravitating towards that any more than?
Yeah, any company that does that, that's what we do.
Yeah.
The Transamerica I wrote yesterday.
Okay, yeah.
The lady,
yep.
you know, it's a Direct Express card, and she gets paid on third.
Yep.
She wants her draft on the fourth.
Nope.
No.
No, ma'am.
Sorry. And she said, well, I prefer it to be the fourth. I said, hey, it ain't my rule.
That's right.
You know,
not my rules. You want this
it's my rule. I made the rules. We sit and negotiate all day long. But I don't make these rules, and it's got to be the third. So she's okay. I did one yesterday at those rural neighbors, the EL, going to be drafted on second Wednesday. You know, they, but I mean, he was okay with that. He was thrilled that they would do it. He was saying,
yeah.
I guess what day we need to make this about the middle of the month because I get paid the second Wednesday. I said, I'll tell you what we can do. We can put this on draft second Wednesday every month. He said, you mean it'll be different every month? I said, be whatever your payday is. He said, man, that's...
Whatever second Wednesday is. John, I had one 2 weeks ago, and I was doing the same thing on an SSB billing form, and the guy said, well, look, let's make a deal. And he said it about 3 times, and I said, look, I'm not Monty Hall. It's got to be on this date. You know, this is the best product for you, you know, but, yeah, you just kind of have to be headstrong with that stuff, you know. I mean, these people got to be, sometimes you got to be almost like a parent, you know, to help them out. I mean, you really do.
Yeah, it's just, you know, like I say, you know, yeah, companies, that's something right there that helps make our job easier, not harder. Like this month. This month is, since the first was today, today's first Wednesday. Well, nobody gets paid on the first Wednesday, so it's going to be the third. But the second Wednesday is the 8th.
Right.
The third Wednesday is the 15th this month. That's the earliest it can ever be. But now, if they don't do that, if people get paid on the third Wednesday, and the company doesn't do the Wednesday drafts, well, we have to make the 21st because that's the latest it can be.
Right. Exactly.
We have to make the 21st their draft day. Well, this month, if you're with a company like that, that means they're going to get paid on the 15th, and we got to sit and hope they leave that money in there till the 21st.
Yeah, I tell you, I really...
And companies don't get that. Companies don't get that. I was talking to the premium accounting lady at a company today about this one, the problem, and she was saying, it's only on the first one. The first one's only one. It won't be on the right day. From now on, it'll be okay. Just tell these people, leave the money in there. You know.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
it's a little bigger deal.
But they don't work the final expense market. So she thought, I'm sure she thought I was as crazy as I think she is. She's probably at home telling her family, that damn guy acted like that was a big deal.
Right.
You know, well, she doesn't get it because she doesn't do what we do. But the other side of it is they don't care what we do either, and they're not going to listen.
No, they're not. And I'll tell you, I will put somebody with a company that does on the third, second, or fourth Wednesday. I'll put them with them sometimes just for the fact of the way they're paid. Now, they may qualify anywhere, but, you know, if they're paid on one of those Wednesdays, then I'm looking for a company that's going to draft on that every time.
Yeah, and, yeah, you know, sometimes people want to, you know, Well, sometimes people just they come up with stupid things, but most of the time they're not sold. You know, they talk about, you know, they come up with this and that and they say, those are excuses after the fact. Most people coming up with dumb stuff like that, they're not sold.
Right.
And, you know, people, they know. Just like, you know, you get agents that hear them all the time saying, complaining about leads, complaining about the lead. Them leads aren't no good. Them people don't know. They didn't know it's about life insurance. They don't know it's about that. Yes, they do. Every single one of them knows.
Yeah.
Every single person that mails that card in, they know exactly what it is. They know what they're sending it in. They know it's about life insurance. I don't care what it says on that card. Now, they can very likely change their mind, and most of them aren't going to be honest enough to say they changed their mind. Like I got one today. I scheduled my first appointment that I had scheduled today. I had to reschedule one. I had a guy called, got the wife, and this is an RGI lead. I'm mixing in some of those now. And
right.
It says life insurance on it. You know, everybody says, "Boy, that's it. You want your lead to trade life insurance? Want to lead life insurance?" It doesn't matter. But anyway, I called the lady, got the wife. You know, had the husband and wife on there. I got the wife. I asked for them. I was okay. I want to, Miss Jones. I want to. You know, I'm got to take care of that in there, and I'm going to be over there tomorrow. Yeah. I know what I'm talking about. I said 9:30 in the morning. Work for you? Yeah. That'll be fine. Address. I only had a PO box. I need your address. It's got a P.O. box on here. Oh, it's told me where it's right across from the fire station. I know right where you're at. So set an appointment with her. After I'm going through, right as I'm getting ready to leave to go handle the accounting problem, I get a call from Mr. Jones. Hey, you called, you set an appointment to come down here and talk about life insurance tomorrow morning. I said, yep. Well, we already got life insurance. We don't need to talk about that. There ain't no sense you come mind wasting your time. And I said, well, you know, sometimes people send that in because they want to save money on what they got. Maybe you're paying too much. I said, won't take long to find out. No, it ain't no sense coming by. And I said, well, you probably had life insurance when you met, you know, but this time I already know I ain't going to go see this guy, you know. So then I'm saying, well, you probably had insurance when you mailed that card in, didn't you? I don't know that I mailed that card in. I said, well, when I talked to your wife, she knew exactly what I was talking about. And he said, well, maybe she mailed it in then. And I said, well, maybe she did. She's the one I set the appointment with, too. He said, well, if you want to come down and meet with her, we have at it. So I'm not going, you know. But, you know, now, you know, they switched the whole script. First time I talked to them, they knew exactly what I was about. When they decided they didn't want me to come, they didn't remember sending the card in.
Right, yeah, you get that a lot.
Instead of just being honest and saying, yeah, we did, you know, we just changed our mind. Fine, I'll drop it in the trash. But they know. And I took a picture for our group a month ago, a little over a month ago, and this was on an E64 lead. And it doesn't say life insurance, and I don't say life insurance on those when I call. And set an appointment with this lady. I got there before I go and sat down at the table, and she's got a note to herself that I took a picture, and I took a picture of it to send to everybody else while she was. But the note says 4 o'clock, life insurance man. That was her note to herself that I was coming. Well, how did she know I was life insurance man? The card don't say it. I didn't say it.
Yeah. It's not their first rodeo for a lot of these people.
They know. Now, if you change your mind, fine. You change your mind. You know, I changed my mind too. You know, there's things that I may think I want, and when I get done, decide, well, no, change my mind. I don't want that anymore. just tell me. But you can't worry about those. That's something that, and I know you heard us talk about this on the calls all the time. And like I said, you can learn so much from like a person like Travis does. And Travis and I talk, separate too, because we're friends. But it's amazing to me and to Travis that people will ask us what we do. How do you do what you do? What do you do? You tell them exactly what you do, tell them exactly how you do things, and they go out and do something completely different. And then come back and say,
yeah.
Well, I don't know what I'm doing wrong there. They want to reinvent, I patterned a lot of what I say after Travis. A lot of what I say in my presentation, the wording comes from Tim Wonders. A lot of what I say comes from Philip Hudgens to this day. A lot of how I do things, but more Travis, as far as changing phrases, changing words, come from Travis. You were at the meeting in last year in Indianapolis. I changed a couple of things I say right there because of some things Travis said. Just to be around people like that and to learn from them and ask them and you never quit learning in this and people that will share their time with you. You get on the phone with Scott Burke, you'll be on the phone longer than me and you.
And that's on. Yeah, that's
he's one person I ever know. I hate talk Scott. He talks more than me. I can't get in a word in with Scott. He talks as much as I do. But he wants to share, the stuff with. And if you want to talk about the funeral pre-need and how that works, I mean, Scott ain't just an expert on that. He is a licensed funeral director. That's something that helps us. That helps FDX agents. When you're out in the field, it doesn't happen very often because the people sending in the leads aren't usually pre-need buyers. But occasionally you'll run up on that person that's been talking to them at the funeral home. You know how powerful that is to be able to tell that person, hey, we got a licensed funeral director on staff. Let me get him on the phone. And he's available to all FDX agents for that. Oh, that's powerful stuff. Lean on each other. I saw something today, and this kind of struck home with me, and I actually sent it to the text. I didn't send it to you and Donnie. I guess I probably should have. But I just saw this today, and it kind of struck me. And my wife even asked me, she said, why are you writing that down? But it says, commitment is the daily triumph of integrity over skepticism. And that was important to me, so I wrote it down. Commitment is the daily triumph of integrity over skepticism. The key word in there is commitment. I'm committed to what I do. More importantly, I'm committed to the way I do it. I mean, the way I do things may not be the right way, but it's the damn right way for me.
Right.
And everybody talks about presentation scripts and stuff like that. That stuff is not important. What is important is how you say, what you say, when you say. Listen. Pause. Where do you inflect? When do you ignore? Like that lady telling me, I ain't minding nothing, I'm just getting information. I never acknowledged that she said that. I learned that from Travis.
You just move right on through it.
Go on. Don't even pay no attention to that. Don't sit there. Don't get caught. What if she said, I ain't buying nothing, Dad, I just want to get information. If I'd have stopped and said, oh, really? what is it you're looking for then? You know. If I'd have made that important,
well, let me explain.
If I'd have made that important, she'd have made it important.
Right.
And but you know something that as we talk, you get the agents that close 30% of their leads are the superstars in this business. And everybody wants to focus on that. Man, that dude does 30%, 40%. I heard of a guy that does 45%. And that sounds great. But just say that, just focus on that and let 30%. They're the best. Really, really, really good agents are 25%. But that 30% agent, he's a superstar. If he's a hitter in baseball, if he's a 300 hitter, he's making $20 million a year.
Right.
He's making an all-star team every year. He's making out.
So let's break that down in numbers for people that are listening.
Closing 30% of his leads. He ain't closing 70% of them.
Right, they're walking.
So focus on the 30.
So if we're breaking it down,
don't focus on the 70%. It'll drive you freaking crazy. And that's who's out of the business. I got a buddy of mine. He could do this business if he wanted to. If he could ever get his mind right. He's a great salesman. He's a great guy. He knows far more about insurance than I'll ever know. The nuts and bolts of insurance and how stuff works and the way it's supposed to be. He was never at a 30% close. He might have been 20% close, but he let the 80% eat him alive.
Wasting his time.
The B-backs. He called it his pending. I'd say, how you doing? Oh, I'm doing pretty good. I got 4 pending. If I tell you I got 4 pending, that means you got 4 lost decisions. What I found out he was calling pending, he had talked to the people, but he hadn't sold them yet. But he's pretty sure he's going to sell them.
Well, hell, John, me and you just throw that lead in trash.
And he would be on their porch. He told me about a story one time. He was on these people's porch, and they porched him, you know. But he knew he was inside. He knew they was inside. And he's standing there hollering through the door, I'm here to help you. Why won't you let me in? And he's telling me this story. I'm there to help them. How come they won't let me help them? I said, well, first off, you're there for the wrong reason. You're supposed to be there to sell them something. And the second reason is, forget about them. Go on to the next person that might want to buy something from you. You know, you can't worry about those people who don't buy and all that. Like I said, you know, I'm one of, you know, I'm fortunate enough to close more than 30% of my leads. But I don't worry about those others. Those leads it doesn't bother me to drop a lead in the trash.
Right, me either. Yep.
If you don't want to meet with me, you know, you just agonize. So, then that same guy, he's out of the business now. He's still in the MA business, but he does not. He refers any final expense business to me, any life business. He just refers it to me, which, you know, works out for me that he didn't make it. But a lead. And one reason he's out of the business is he could not stand to throw a lead away. Paid $20 for that lead, you know, and I paid good money for that lead. You know, I'm going, you know, and I can tell you that would drive you crazy if you look at it that way.
Well, that lead is a roadblock, though, to getting to your stuff that's coming in since it came in.
Right. How many could he have sold while he was fooling around on that porch at that house, begging them to let him in?
Right.
And
hey, let me ask you this, John. Let me ask you this. So for people that are listening, they're doing numbers in their head right now, I guarantee you. So they're thinking, okay, so going back to that 30% number, if an agent is getting 80 leads a month, 20 leads, let's just say on average 20 leads a week, and they're closing 30% of their leads. Now, that's not 30% of their sits or their appointments, but 30% of their leads coming in.
Right.
So that's 24 apps a month. That's,
right.
You know, that's only 6 apps a week if you look at it. So if you break it down like that, I mean, I think people just got to get in their head that work on the little rocks before you get to the big rocks.
Right. Well, and that's another thing that everybody's gonna think I got a man crush on Travis, but it's just the fact that something Travis says is first thing you do with every batch of leads, you skim the cream. Every batch of leads, there's a couple laydowns in there. There's a couple laydowns in there. Well, get them first. Set your appointments, get them. Now you got your sales, you got 2-3 sales. Then work on the harder ones.
Words to live by, definitely.
Get the rock rolling downhill. And what is it? The body in motion tends to stay in motion.
Yeah.
That's what everybody else talks about, getting started on Monday morning, setting appointments on Saturday, get rolling on Monday, and that's 100% right. You get business on the books on Monday morning, man, you are rolling downhill the rest of that week. It's success breeds success. It's something subconscious to you. And you've been doing this long enough now. You start out, you sell your first 2 or 3 of the day, you can almost lay odds you're going to sell everything you meet with that day. You go your first 4 appointments of a day and you haven't sold nothing, I'd all those lay odds too, you're about done for the day too.
Yep.
It becomes, and even though you're not doing anything different that you can tell, it's just something. Now, I've been doing this long enough now that I can be all day long, haven't sold nothing, and I can treat the next appointment just like I have sold all day. But I've been doing it for, I've been on over 5,000 appointments. Travis said something on a text last week, that I still found it profound because I just had never thought about it. But he's talking about giving advice, and was on there. He said, my advice comes from $2.5 million of final expense annual premium. Travis has written $2.5 million annual premium on final expense. Yeah, he's probably seen everything.
I would think so.
Listen to what he says. Listen to what when he says that, and when he's training. People tend to get their feelings hurt. When people come up with something, they want ratification, and you see that on the insurance form too. You'll see that a lot.
Right.
People will say, so they'll pose what they want to do as a question. And when they don't get ratification, they get their feelings hurt, and there's a bunch of no good people on the form. There are a bunch of cancers, and you can't talk to nobody, and everybody's no good because they didn't get ratification. They didn't get ratification, though. And that's what people want, and people can't take that, and I have to remind people too that sometimes the stuff I'm saying, I ain't telling anything to you personally. I'm telling you from experience that I got over $2 million of life premium. I did a lot of NA stuff, and so mine's not all final expense, but I'm probably $1.5 million final expense. So, you try to shorten the tuition for people. We all got to pay tuition. I'm not trying to lower your cost of tuition. Get to telling people, don't do one-leggers. I didn't wake up and say that. I was told that too. But some lessons got to be learned. I was told that too in the beginning. Don't do them one-legger. And I said, that's just you. I can do them. I'm different.
Right.
I learned why people say that. So I don't do one-leggers now. I don't do callbacks. I don't call people back. I don't. If you don't buy, I met with a couple yesterday. I am almost certain they're going to call me back.
Right.
I am almost certain these people are going to call me back, but they wouldn't bite the bullet yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
That lead still went in the trash when I left that house.
Right. Right. Why you need?
And I might be wrong. I may not ever hear from them again. But it doesn't matter. If I see them again, well, if they don't call me back, I'll probably see them next time we mail that area. They'll send another lead.
Right, so there you go. Yeah.
That does happen too. And I'll try things all the time. Jimmy Hobson on the forum, when he was with Equita one time, he was talking about calling and setting your appointments, and the people who wouldn't set with you. Go door knock them. And there's a discussion on the forum about that now. But he's saying, go door knock them. And they'll let you in, and they won't. And I thought that's a good idea. I said, you know what, and that's all. You know, if I hear something I think is a good idea, I'm going to try it. I'm going to go out and do it. And I did that. What I found out for me is I'm real good on the phone. Because the people who blew me off on the phone wouldn't let me in either.
That's right.
But now they didn't remember. They weren't saying, didn't I talk to you yesterday? They didn't say that. Nobody ever said that.
They never remember.
But they wouldn't let me in. They would say, no, they wouldn't let me in. So I found out, well, I'm pretty good at screening these people on the phone. But the other thing I found out is they're going to mail in a lead next time. This ain't the last time I'm going to see this person. And sometimes it's just timing. I have a guy, and he's a client to now. Matter of fact, I was looking at his, he's an American Amicable, and I hadn't written him in years. But I looked at it today because somebody on the FEX chat was saying something about an MM app, so I pulled him out to see what that app said. But he's been a client since about March, 4 years ago, maybe even 5 years ago. But he had sent in a lead in like December. Before then, called him, and I had called him. Now I didn't remember. Well, apparently he chewed me out. Well, next time around, when I'm going through that, I called him. Flew him on the book, and he told me, he said, oh, I'm so glad you called me back. I said, I'm calling you back. And he said, yeah, he thought I kept the card, you know.
Right.
What he did, he just sent in another one. And he said, yeah, you called me back in December. He said, I know it was December because my dad died right after that. Well, my dad was in real bad shape, and he was in hospice, and it was just a terrible time, and you called talking about life insurance, and I told you where to stick it. And I said, well, it's a good thing I got a thick skin because I don't remember anything about it. He said, yeah, I do want to meet with you. I need insurance. Met with him, like I said, he's still on the books to this day. That first time was just terrible timing. And so you're going to have that, but like I said, now this other guy I'm talking about, he would have remembered that. Oh, yeah, you talked to me terrible. And you just, and maybe he wouldn't have got to meet with him that time too, you got to focus on the success and forget the stuff that doesn't work that'll drag you down.
Right.
And the other part of this is too is that your family has to be completely involved with you. They have to know what you do, why you do it, when you do it, the way you do things. Because, working from home, like my neighbors, my wife tells me, and they'll say stuff to her, does he ever work? Like when you work from home, people think that, you're not doing things.
Yeah,
And, like my wife knows, my call time is my most important time. And you leave him alone then. That's where the money gets made.
That's right.
Making them appointments. That's private time. You don't bother him. You leave him alone. And she knows that, and they have to be on board with that. And some people never get that. My mom died 6 years ago. She was the world's worst at that. My dad was named John, so to the family I was Johnny at horse shows. But my mom, I set my appointments on Mondays and Wednesdays. Well, if somebody in the family, I've got 6 brothers and sisters, and in-laws and different things. And, my mom was the worst in the world about it. Somebody needed something done. Well, call Johnny on Monday or Wednesday. He don't work those days. I never could break my mom.
Yeah, you're not
working. My mom never could get,
pipeline.
You're home. Why can't you just run out there and help? Because I have to be on the phone, Mom. You can't get on the phone later. But your family has to be on board with what you do, and you were saying something on there, why I picked final expense over other insurance verticals. I didn't.
Right.
I didn't. I ended up here. I gave my story earlier. That's how I ended up there. Doing final expense allows me to make the income I make at the work I'm willing to do. I don't know of anybody that grew up wanting to be a final expense agent. I never heard anybody growing up, your kids want to be a fireman, policeman, astronaut. Never heard anybody, I won't be a final expense when I grow up. No, you don't. This is just, again, as Travis says, affords you a living second to none.
That's right. Hey, John, let me do something right quick. Can you clarify, I know there's going to be some new people listening, I'm sure. I forgot to clarify exactly what a one-legger is.
We've been going on so long, ain't nobody going to be listening now.
Do what now?
We've been on here so long, ain't nobody going to listen to all this.
Oh, they'll get to this. Just to let everybody know, one-legger is a wife by themselves or a husband by themselves. So there you go.
Right. And no matter what they say. And they will tell you, oh, it's okay. I make all the decisions. And if you go ahead and do that, and you do your presentation, and I don't care how good a job you did, and you get, you know what? If it's especially if it's the husband, more so than the wife, but especially the husband, and he's, you know what? That's good. I think let me run this by her, and I'll get back to you.
Kiss of death.
Even though he told you, I make the decisions. Now, the wife, you might get by with it sometimes, but very seldom. Like that appointment today. I made the appointment with the wife. She knew what the card was. Obviously, she probably is the one sent it in. Made the appointment with me. Once she tells the husband, John Duggar's coming by tomorrow morning at 9:30 to talk to us about life insurance, he's, hell no. So really they did me a favor by calling and canceling, because he wasn't interested.
I tell Allie all the time, hey, they
both have to be on board. But you know what I'm talking about. Everybody's married knows what they're talking about. I mean,
yep.
I don't care if it's a decision I'm going to make. I don't, and even if it's a decision that I know she's going to agree with. I'm not spending money without at least informing her.
That's right.
And she ain't either. Well, sometimes she will tell me after the fact, oh, yeah, I forgot to tell you that I wrote that check.
That's allowed, John. They can do that.
But on a financial decision, especially when you're talking about something about your life insurance stuff, and in the business that we do, and I think it was Tim Winder said this a few years ago, and I'd never really thought about it. The folks that we meet with, buying a $15,000 life insurance policy might be the biggest financial decision they make this year. We're not putting that much importance on it. I do now, since he said that. This is a super big deal to the people we're talking to. You're talking about something for the rest of their life. And a major purchase. And you better look at it that way. And you better give them that you know, there was a guy at NAA, really good agent and stuff, and he was doing $400,000 a year 12 years ago. And his name was Rudy. Got up on the stage and one thing, and he was talking about it. He said, you know, something he tells himself, and I've done it ever since then. But he said it doesn't matter if he's on the phone with the company and he's been arguing with a company and something got him in a bad mood. He's been arguing with his wife, or he's been on the phone with the bank, or it doesn't matter what he's talking to on the phone, what he's doing, whatever's going through his mind. When he steps out of the car to go to that house, he would tell himself, it's showtime. These people deserve your best show, your best. You know, they deserve the you're going to give today. If you can't put that stuff out of your head, don't go to that appointment. Call them up and say something came up. Don't go in there in a bad mood. And I do it to this day, you know, just to refresh, you know, put everything on my side. This is new. I've done this 5,000 times. These people ain't never seen me do it till now. And you know, I got that from another guy in horse showing and stuff. And sometimes, you know, when I got to where, you know, I was pretty good at it and would go all over the place and all over the country. Well, you get the local shows and stuff, and the competition wasn't very tough, and you had to go in there to beat local and stuff. And I had a guy tell me one time, and I was kind of half-assing it. And this guy got on me about it. He said, some of these people here, he said, I know the competition here is not very tough, but some of these people have heard about you. They ain't never seen you ride. They ain't never seen your horse. They ain't never seen Easy. That's where the J.D.Z. come from. They never seen Easy perform. They came here to see you. And you know, and they deserve your best. From that day on, and part of, then that's another problem. You go in there, because I competed in time, you know, and running and competing, and you got another problem with that. Some people would think then that you know, I'd go in there and just blow them out, you know. Well, he's just picking on the little guys. So, you know, you can't win for losing in that. You know, but that made a point to me, what he's saying. And the same thing as what Rudy said about it showtime and stuff. You know, they deserve your best when you go in there. And you ain't going to get a second chance to impress them anyway. So you better damn well impress them that first time. Or you're not going to be back. And so... But, you know, it still goes back. If there's a secret in this business, if there's a secret for me, it is finding their why in the beginning. You know, leads are our lifeblood. You've got to have a supply of leads. You've got to get leads every week. But then you've got to run those leads. You've got to work those leads. You know, if you get 20 leads every week and let them sit in the door, they're not going to do you any good either.
No, jump on them.
You know, you can't find out who is interested unless you get out there and do it. And, you know, everybody has their bad days and stuff, you know. I mean, Travis and I joke about that sometimes, too. We'll sit there and say, oh, man, I can't sell nothing today. I ain't sold nothing in 2 days. I've done lost my touch. I'm never going to sell another one. You know, everybody has those thoughts. And then, bam, next one you go to is a $2,000 annual premium. You're off to the races again. You know, it's the freedom of working for yourself. You know, I'm not so much a nuts and bolts guy about the stuff. I try to keep this stuff simple. I hear guys talking about what CRM you use, what do you load. There's something something about the RGI that they keep talking about on our Friday calls. They're wanting to, I forgot what they're even calling it now. Upload addresses.
Yeah, I mean, you got to see.
I don't even know what they're talking about. I'm not even sure I know what CRM stands for. I don't do none of that stuff. I don't track dials. People say, how many dials? I don't know. I call until I have my appointment's done. How many was that? I don't know. If there's
I look at money in, money out.
If there's a tracker on my phone, I can tell you. If there ain't, I have no idea. My leads are by counties. I work mostly rural. Big city to us is Evansville, Indiana, 100,000 people. That's the metropolitan to us. And I don't work in Indiana very much anymore. Since I've been with FEX, I'm 90% Kentucky. And the biggest city near us, Owensboro, I just saw there are 75,000 people. I didn't realize they got that big, but that's the urban. So everything I do is by counties. I've got all my leads go into a folder by county, and a manila folder, or as one of my friends calls it, that vanilla folder. And they're in there, and what I do, I set my appointments on Monday for Tuesday, for Thursday on Wednesday. When I come in my office on Monday morning, I decide what county I'm going to work. And usually that's where I got the freshest leads, first off. But if they're all the same, I'll just pick out a county. I think I'll work Muhlenberg County this week, tomorrow. I pull out my Muhlenberg County folder, I sit down. Now I'll put all the leads in the cities, or here they're called towns. They're towns more than cities. I'll group them by each town. And I'll start with the closest town to me. Like in Muhlenberg County, the closest one I had, Sacramento, is a little town in there. It's 12 miles from me. So I had a couple there. So I put those on top. The next little town is Bremen. It's 20 miles away, but 8 miles from Sacramento, And so then I call an order for that my first time through. But then after the first time through, all bets are off. I'm just going to call until I can get my appointment. But, I want to set my first appointments up in that town that's 12 miles, and then go to the town that's 20 miles, and then go to the town that's 25 miles, and then the town that's 30, and they just kind of make a loop. And that is how it ended up working yesterday, that I made a big loop. I did start at the closest to me and ended up at the farthest one away from me, and made a loop. And it's, that's how you want to do it, but it doesn't always work that way. But then I've got that folder with me, and there were some people I had appointments with, and I was out of the house in 5 minutes. They didn't have an interest. So then I came out of the house. I pulled down to a gas station, pulled my folder out, started calling people right in that town. Hey, this is John Duggar, Senior Benefit Services. For the folks, you sent in a request for information about our final expense life insurance. Yeah, that card. Well, I'm got to take care of that. Hey, I happen to be right down the street from you. Need a few minutes to go over that. You home now? No, I'm down at Walmart. Okay, I'll call you next time I'm over here. Call the next person. And that's how I work my days, but I have my folder. I don't download them into anything. Maybe I should be. Maybe it would save me time. I don't know. I heard one guy on the call one day said it took him an hour and a half to load all his leads into whatever he was loading it into.
It's time to get a new system if it takes that long.
The thing about it, what went through my head when he's saying that?
You could have booked 5 appointments in that hour?
No, what went through my head was what we was talking about before, the percentages.
Yeah, who cares? Yeah, money in, money
Well,
out.
if he's a superstar and closing 30% of those leads, he just wasted 70% of his time. That's what went through my head. You know, that's how I think. You know, and maybe I think wrong, but that's how I look at that. You know, because he ain't going to sell 70% of those people, but he spent 70% of his hour and a half on them. And maybe I'm looking at it wrong, but that's how I look at it. You know, I believe in keeping it simple. I've been blessed with a good memory, and that helps. Yeah, that's what Scott. You know, I tease Scott about that. Scott can't remember what he had for breakfast this morning.
Right.
But I had a guy call me the other day. My wife and I had supper with a guy called me, wrote him 5 years ago, wrote him in 2010, Rural Neighbors. Guy just called me up, said, hey, this is so-and-so, you remember me? I wasn't in my office. I actually answered the phone in the kitchen. I said, yeah, I remember you. You work at the zoo there in Evansville. He said, yeah, that's me. How the hell do I remember that? I don't know. But impressed hell out of him. You know.
That's what mattered, yeah.
But you know, I don't know why I remember stuff like that, but I do. You know, so that helps me when, you know, in this job. As I get older, I don't remember as good as I used to. So, you know, that stuff changes all the time. I used to remember a lot better than I do now. And but it's that's the part of the job I like, though. The meeting with the people, going and talking to people, seeing the people. That's why I call them, you know, my people. You know, it's become a joke over the time, but it's not really a joke. And it's you know, it's what I do. It's why I do things the way I do, and it's but then constantly learning. You know, constantly learning from Travis and Tim Winders and, you know, the people who know what they're doing. But you learn just as much from people who don't.
Yeah, that's true too, yeah.
There's been some calls, and I sit and listen to people, and they start talking about what they do. Well, I kind of know that they're struggling or something, you know. And then I'm listening to what they're saying they do. Well, it kind of goes together while they're struggling. You know, don't do that. You know, learning what not to do in this business is just as important as learning what to do. You know, what's your waste? One-leggers. You know, and agents are terrible about this. And I know you've heard it too. On those one-leggers, there are agents that will sell one.
Yep.
And then, well, there you go, there you go, there you go. You guys say it can't be done. You don't know what the hell you're talking about. By God, I just did one. Just sold one. Just sold a good one. Yeah. Build your business on that then. You know, and there's exceptions all the time. I'm sure I have sold a one-legger here and there over my career. You know, you just, but somebody, annuities, that's a big thing in the final expense, you know, and that's a pet peeve of mine. They talk about annuities. But somebody will fall into an annuity. Some agent somewhere selling final expense, running a final expense lead, will fall into a damn annuity. And then there they go. Hey, all you guys are wrong. There you go. Yep. You know, there you go. You can sell annuities doing this.
I think you're going to find that more in Medicare supplement market than you will in final.
And I don't know. You might. I don't prospect for anything except final expense. I sell other things, but only because if it became. I will not sell term for a burial final expense policy If that's what your need is, I'm not selling you a term. I don't care if that's what you want. I'm not selling it. And I am committed to that. I'm not going to sell it to you. I'm going to explain to you why I'm not going to sell it to you. And if you still want that, good. I'll give you a number. Somebody's going to sell it to you. I am not going to break my core belief for that. Now, that doesn't say I don't sell term. I sell quite a bit of term. Not quite a bit, but I guess compared to other final expense agents I do. If I'm doing the fact-finding and the why, I had a guy as RGI leads a couple weeks ago, 3 weeks ago. I get a lot of younger ages on those. This guy was 39 years old and his wife 36. Well, I got down there. They didn't have any interest in final expense. They didn't have anything. You know, we start on term. We're talking a $250,000 term for him and his wife. And because that's what they want. They weren't wanting final expense. They just wanted life insurance. And they saw life insurance on that card, and they wanted to talk to some damn body. It just so happened I'm the one that they got. Sometimes I run into, I ask everybody I meet with, who you got your Medicare supplement with. I don't do Medicare Advantage anymore, but I do med subs. And 90% of people we see are on Medicare Advantage, or if not Medicaid.
Right.
Of course, they all tell me they all tell me, who you got, yeah, I got supplement. Who you got supplement with? Humana.
Yeah, I got care.
How much you paying for it? $35. Oh, you got Medicare Advantage. You don't have a supplement. Yeah, I got a supplement. They think it's a supplement, it's kind of, but then, you get, if I get somebody says, man, how much you paying for it? $185? Well, yeah, you do have a supplement. Let's see what we can do here. And I sell 20, 25 Medicare supplements a year, like that. But that ain't my focus. I don't focus on anything else. I don't prospect for anything but final expense. If other stuff falls in my lap, I don't sell annuities because I don't know anything about annuities. If you dumped a stack of annuity leads in my lap, I wouldn't know what to do with them. I might as well start a bonfire with them. I would refer them out to somebody else. Somebody wants to talk to me about long-term care, I refer it out. Somebody wants to talk to me about Medicare Advantage and prescription drug plans, which they do all the time now, I refer them out. I do refer them to that guy that refers me to the final expense stuff. I refer that stuff out. I'm not going to be a jack of all trades. I'm a specialist. I'm selling final expense, life insurance. That's why I'm here. That's what I'm doing. Now, if you have something, you want something that's in my wheelhouse, yeah, I'm going to sell it to you. But if it ain't something that I deal with all the time, no. I don't want a foot doctor, podiatrist, doing heart surgery on me. If just because he can, just because his license allows him to. I don't want my heart to be the first one you're working on. And just like attorneys in Kentucky, they don't specialize fields. They don't specialize. In Kentucky, if you're an attorney, you're an attorney. People specialize in bankruptcy or criminal, or corporate or stuff like that. But if you're an attorney, you can do anything. You can you can be a bankruptcy attorney. And if a guy wants to hire you to represent him for murder, you can damn well go do it. Well, I don't want, a guy that deals in corporate law standing for a jury defending me. And so that's why if I don't know the product, I'm going to refer it out. You get other people talking about leave money on the table, leave money on the table. Well, the people that I hear say that usually are the broke people.
Yeah, you're right.
The jack of all trades are the ones that aren't making any money. The people I know that make the most in this business are the Travis Doves and the Tim Wenders and the Doug Massey and the Spur City. I forget his name now.
Matt Mangia, yeah.
Yeah, I probably can't even say his name. Matt.
Yeah.
Those are the people that I know in this business that are making the most money.
Yeah.
You know, they you know. So I stay in my lane. You know, this is what I do. I'm an expert on that. I'm not an expert on a whole bunch of things. But if I'm sitting in your house and you want to talk about final expense, you ain't gonna talk to anybody no more about me. I'm gonna give you your options. This is what we do. This is why I don't recommend this. Or this is what I do. This is what I know. I'm an expert on this. If you want to talk about insuring your boat out there, I got a guy you can call. And you know, and that's just my philosophy of how I work things and how I do this. You know, but you know, we started that to say how you got into this. I fell into final expense because this affords me to make this kind of living at the kind of effort I want to put into it. And you know the thing about it, anytime I want to, Matt, I can give myself a raise.
Yeah, just buy more leads.
if I decide, hey, you know what, I need to make $10,000 here real quick, extra. You know, I got that lead. Give myself a raise. I'm too lazy to work like Matt and Doug and Tim Winders. People talk about a competition all the time. You know, what if you got 35 leads a week? You know, how much could you do? You know, you could compete with them guys. I've made that cover. We ain't never gonna find out.
Right.
Because that's not, and more power to him. I mean, you know, Tim Winters is a working fool. As good as he is at the business, Tim Winters is a worker.
Right.
Tim Winters working.
Well, I mean, you're doing your thing. You got your, you know what works for you.
And I want to do the thing. I got into this job for the freedoms of it. And Donnie said something the other day about people don't recognize the value of time either.
They don't. You never get it back either.
And you know, and I do. The older I get, the more value I place on it. And you know, quality time. And you know, we're all shaped by what happens in your life. And you know, I had a sister that died at age 35. She was a model. She was one of the Clairol girls. I mean, if you're old enough to remember the Clairol girls.
I do, yeah.
With my sister was a Clairol girl. You know, just outgoing person. You know, died at age 35 of bone marrow cancer. Now it's 30. She died in 1982. This October would be.
Did I know that? Years. I did not know that, John.
33 years this October, so she would be 68 if she was still alive.
Right.
And you know, I've had many more years than she ever got. And you know, we're all shaped by things that happen to us. And you know, that makes things more important or less important to you.
Makes a lot of things more important and a lot of things less. Yeah, it does.
With just a friend I showed horses with. This October will be 2 years. We were in the Smoky Mountains. We were headed home. Got a call from another buddy up in Illinois. We lost Danny last night. 55 years old, healthy as it could be. Healthy as God, never on no medicines, not overweight, no good shape. He was competing at horse show. Got third place on 300 and some horses. He came out of there and he said he was feeling a little sick. Went outside to get air and he didn't come back in. They went out and he's laying beside his horse trailer dead. You know, you just don't know.
55 is young.
And he and a healthy, you know, it wasn't like this guy was just hanging on, you know.
Right.
We see 55-year-olds all day. They're in terrible health. You know,
yeah,
our job.
True.
I mean, he's a healthy guy. You know, you just don't know. And you know, everything that happens in your life shapes you. And you know, something at his funeral, they played that, what's the guy's name? The Hootie and the Blowfish, does country music now, the black guy.
Yeah,
Darius Rucker. And that
there, yeah, that's it.
Yeah, that wagon wheel song, you know. That was Danny's favorite song. That was a long way up there, almost up where Rural Neighbors is. We went to his funeral, which is, a 4 days drive for me. We went up there. Well, his grandkids and all this thing, they did that and they acted out that song, and to this day, I can't stand to hear that song.
Right. Yeah.
And we were at a Friday Night Live here a couple of weeks ago, and we ran the 5K, and afterwards go to the beer garden and the band, and that was one of the songs they was playing. Everybody's getting into it. I told Ursula, I said, I can't stand that song. I got to get away from here. Everybody said, well, you don't like that song? I said, hey, one of my best friends, they played that at his funeral as his favorite song. So that's all I can think about when I hear that song.
Right.
And, like everybody else sitting there saying, what the hell's wrong with him? Don't like that song. Well, that's why. Well, if you don't know people's backstory, you don't know. So that's what I try to do when I walk in the homes and when I'm just, But we just got a very few minutes to do that too. Connect with this person. You also know when you can't connect with people. I know right away. There's some people I ain't gonna connect. I ain't selling this guy. I ain't no sense me sitting here and talking to him. Now, he don't like me. I don't like him, and that ain't gonna change. And you have to develop that radar that you know. I sent Josh Ory down to a guy last year. It's funny. I thought it was a for sure sale, but I kind of messed up with the guy, and there was no way of getting it fixed,
Right.
And so I left there without an out, but I told Josh, I said, you need to go. And it was a pretty good drive for Josh, and I said, you'll go down there and sell this guy because he's sold. He just ain't going to buy from me. Josh went out there, Josh said, well, you're right. He ain't going to buy from you, but you ruined it for everybody. He wouldn't talk to me either. And says he ain't buying from no agent. And so I guess I messed that guy's sale up for everybody. And but that just happens, There's some people you're just not going to connect with, And you got to know that and learn that early on, and into the conversation. But you will learn that for stuff. And then you also learn to sell. Like I said, I've been doing this a long time now. I'm in my 12th year of doing this. I see people now that I saw 3 and 4 years ago and didn't sell them. And now I sell them. Now, some of it's timing. Maybe they're ready now and they weren't ready then. But some of it's I'm better than I was then. And you want to think everybody wants to think they're so memorable, When you pull up that house, oh, I've been here before. They're going to remember me. No, they don't.
Yeah, I don't lie to myself about that. When I'm gone, I do what I can to be nice. But I know once I'm out of there, man, I am not on their mind at all. It's done.
I had one. I had one. This has been, I guess, sorry, I'll wrap stuff up. But I had one that I hadn't been in contract with Lincoln Heritage in 6 years, so it had to be longer than that ago. It had to be 8 years ago. 9 years ago, I sold this lady a Lincoln Heritage, and she kept it. I knew she had lapsed it, and she kept it a year or so, and lapsed it. And 3 or 4 years ago, got a lead on her, same thing. I was thinking, well, it seemed like I recognize that. Fortunately, I have good memory, So I pull her file out. I keep a file on everybody, I've got file cabinets. I don't store nothing in the cloud. Don't even know how to. I got file cabinets. If I tell you a policy, it goes into a folder. And then in there, I've got, you've seen, how many file cabinets I got. Some in the attic, got some in the attic. So I pulled out her folder on this lead. I called her, made an appointment, and I kept thinking, what name sound familiar? Went through my file. Yeah, Lincoln Harris sold her years ago. So I go on to the phone. I don't tell her that. I go on the phone, but I pull up her hand, and I'm thinking, well, I wonder what she's going to say when she realizes it's me, Go in there. So go through the whole thing. Sell her policy. Sold to Royal Neighbors this time, and go through everything, get her policy, get her. I looked at what she was paying before, and even all these years later, I put her in the same coverage for $10 or $12 less, And so we get done, and everything. She'd never mentioned. I finally said, "Do you don't remember me?" No. and you can understand somebody not remembering you. You came in that you didn't sell. You'd think somebody you sold might have a little better idea,
They don't.
And I said, yeah, I sold you a policy with Lincoln Heritage several years ago. Well, I got it right here. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I remember I had them. No, I don't remember you still. And I said, well, what happened with that? I know you let that policy go, and I tried to call, and your phone numbers were changed and stuff. And she said, yeah, it just cost too much. And she still got that policy, the last one I sold her. But like I said, sometimes, like I said, that was just finances. I had better products this time than I had before. Sometimes it's timing, and sometimes you're just better at it than you used to be. And that's just like, you hear these agents now, you see it all the time on the phone, you hear it on the calls, having problems about a banking account.
I never had that problem. I don't get it. I mean, I know.
See, I don't anymore.
Yeah.
But I used to.
I don't either.
When I was first doing this, I had the problem all the time. And now I don't have that problem anymore. Now, some of it's changed. Society has changed, too. It's more, I get more times now, I'm only going to do this if you'll take it on my bank account. We're used to, I would get, you ain't nobody touching my account, But now, you get it out, so it's changed, but that's an excuse. And the longer you do this, and the more you build confidence in people and confidence in you, then you're not going to get those kind of objections. And they're not sold when they're coming up with that, for the most part. Sometimes you get one. I had one last week. It's the first time I had this happen. I can't remember. I don't know if I've ever had this happen. This was a lady. It was a VBAC. Met with her a month ago. Didn't sell her. Recommended Trinity to her. Didn't sell her. Thought she might want to next month, but I couldn't get her over to think about it, So I left. Trashed the lead. She calls me last week. You remember me? I said, yeah. And actually, she's only 15 miles from me. I said, yeah. She said, I think I want to do that policy we talked about. I said, okay. Just so happens I can be your way in 30 minutes. And she said, okay. So I go over. We go over everything in. I drilled her on the questions more this time, because we're going to do the application. And get to everything, and got a couple medical she didn't let on about before, but asked for banking information. Do an application. Who do you bank with? Told me what bank, checking account. Yeah. You got your account number? Yeah. I got her account number on there. No, she gave me a board check. That's what it was. Gave me a board check. Didn't have to get her on account. Yeah, I said, okay, we got to do this by phone. Put her on the phone with Trinity, get her approved. She's approved. Going to start July 3rd. Want your bank? What day you want the bank bill your bank? Well, I get paid on the 3rd. I said, okay, that's what we're going to bill the bank. Well, you ought to make it the 5th. Give me time to mail in a check. I said, no, there won't be any mailing a check. We're going to take this out of your bank. Oh, no. No. At this point, you want to pull your hair out.
Exactly, yeah.
What part of you giving me a check did you not understand? That's how we're going to work this, And And I said, what's that going to be? She said, well, I'll mail them a check every month. Can't do that. She said, I can't send in my money? I said, no. I said, you can do it 3 months at a time. It's only $40, $4 a month. I said, you want to send them $120 every 3 months? We can do that. No, I can't afford to do that. I said, well, that's the way it is. And this lady's insulin, and she does have an account, so I will sometimes break my rule about not writing direct to people as account, but she's an insulin user. Well, you got Settlers. Settler Silver 2 is way high, and SNL. It's actually I said $40, $39 for what she wanted. I said, so I just showed her, I said, yeah, SNL, they'll let you send them a check every month, but they're going to charge you more because you're on insulin. It was $51, $12 more. I said, you willing to pay $12 more to send in a check? She said, no, I can't pay that. I said, so then this is the way it's going to be, and we'll bill your bank. I said, let's just see how it goes. And she said, no, we ain't doing it. So gave her back her voided check. Had to call Trinity when I left us. Hey, that one y'all just approved, she don't want it.
Right, yeah.
And that hadn't happened to me. I can't remember when, but well, usually if that's going to happen, it's going to happen beforehand. We'd have never got to that point. I'd have never even got on the telephone.
Right, exactly. That's the way I
handled it. Oh, yeah, sorry, see you later.
Yep.
And for it to happen after the phone interview and everything, and this was a be back. She called me back too, and so
John, I've got a saying, and I don't remember. I think I learned it from my cousin. He's been in the car business for 20 years. He's manager, general manager, sales manager, F&I manager. And he says, B-backs ain't greenbacks.
Well, that's why, at the car lot, they know that. That's why they will do anything in the world to keep you from leaving.
That's right.
That you go in there and you can get a hell of a deal on a car if you're willing to leave.
The last car I bought, I told the guy I wasn't being mean, but he was he's kind of an asshole anyway. But I said, look, you got to sell it, but I ain't got to buy it. and they don't have leads. They only have walk-ins.
The car I have now, that was it. I was already in the car leaving when they came back out there, and this deal just don't work for me. No hard feelings. No hard feelings, I'm not leaving mad. This just don't work. And they already kept me there longer than I wanted to be anyway. And he said, come on. What will you do? I said, I already told you what I'm going to do. And he said, if you'll come back in here, I will make you. So I did, and I guess I got a pretty good deal. But I was ready to leave. And if you're willing to leave, but that's what in our business too. You got to be willing to leave. People.
That's right.
They call it commission breath.
Yep.
And people know that. And that lady I wrote Transamerica yesterday, it was, I just ended up telling her, she wasn't sure, and actually replacing a Lincoln Heritage, and replacing a clean-sheeted Lincoln Heritage. And she realized it was a bad policy. But she was considering just taking her chances, because I just told her, she said, what's going to happen after 2 years? I said, they'll pay. I said, other people come in and try to tell you about the fraud that extends past that, and it does. They'll pay this. And she was sitting there considering that. I said, look, You need to do whatever you want to do. My policy's $5 higher because I was having to put her Transamerica Standard because she had COPD. And I said, and it'll be proper, and you can do what you want to. But if you don't want to do this, that's fine. I won't be mad at you, but I got other people to see. And since she's ready to do it, and I don't know. You get people through all the time. They accuse agents of lying and stuff. How do I know she didn't tell that Lake Harris lady that she didn't have COPD?
I know, and you're like me. You appreciate phone interviews so much. I love phone interviews.
Well, see, that's why I wanted to put this lady with. I wanted to put her with Equitable for the phone interview.
Right.
But they're $10 higher than Transamerica. And
she must have COPD, did she?
Yeah, she does have.
That's the only reason I can think put anybody with Equitable.
With who?
That's the only reason I could think of putting anybody with Equitable.
Well, I like to use Equitable because they do the non-smoker for pipe and cigar and chewers and dippers. And
Right.
And they also do the immediate coverage for COPD. But the main reason I wanted to use it in her case is for the phone interview.
Exactly.
And because I didn't know what she's saying she told the Lincoln Harris agent she had COPD. But it's clearly marked no on the application, And she says she told her. But I was going to serve Transamerica. It's going to say you have COPD on mine. So she decided that she would rather come clean on it. But, that's one that won't surprise me. That's the one I haven't sent in yet. I'm going to scrub it again, It wouldn't surprise me to get a call from her and say, I'm just going to start right where I'm at. And I really don't care.
Right. Well, that's what happens when you get enough leads.
And
flat out, that's what happens. You can afford.
Well, in this case, I don't know if she's lying or if the agent's lying or both of them lying. And the fact that she sat there and considered keeping it makes me want to think maybe she ain't telling the truth.
Yeah, there's always their story, the agent's story, and then there's the truth.
And other agents want to blame other agents. I never get that.
Right.
I don't understand why agents want to, eat their own kind. And on phone interviews, and we say on the forum all the time, they'll say, well, they got American Continental, that agent lied. I said, well, that agent lied. The person was in on it. They did a phone interview.
Right. That's right.
You get people to say the agent will still tell them to say that, and that's true. I'm sure they do. But
yeah, but it's
are you going to lie? Are you going to lie if I tell you to?
No. No.
Or if you're just say I went to my property and casualty agent wanting to change my policy.
Right.
And he says, hey, I know you had that speeding ticket last year. Just say no on here.
They gonna see it?
I'm going to say, hell no. I ain't saying that.
Right.
So that's kind of a pet peeve of mine when people always want to blame the agent. And too quick. And maybe sometimes it is the agent's fault. But the longer you do this, you'll find out people don't always tell the truth.
That's right. Well, sometimes you can be cruel too, Sometimes you can be cruel.
That lady yesterday that ended up saying, she was everything she was saying, she ended up getting approved. But when I put her on the phone interview with Trinity, she told me before we were going on the phone, she's type 2 diabetic, takes metformin, and only been taking that 2 months. Only thing she got, a little bit overweight, but, within their guide. Everything's fine.
Right.
Gets on the phone, they go through all the questions. Well, we've got a few medicines here. Do you take amlodipine, Bestolate, or whatever? And she said, oh, yeah, I take that. Forgot about that. Do you take clonidine? Oh, yeah, I take that. I forgot about that. Do you take Lortab? Yeah. Well, I don't take it much anymore. They said, what do you take that for? She said, oh, I've got a bad back, and it acts up every now and then. I'll take that.
Hey.
And then she asked her something else. Oh, that's my blood pressure medicine, yeah. Well, they approved it. She ended up getting approved, There was nothing she says out of the way, but she didn't tell me about any of them.
It could have just as easily been the Aricept and the Menda.
Right. Didn't tell me about any of them. And, it's, and maybe she wasn't lying. So, she obviously wasn't lying. As soon as the people asked her about them, she said, yeah.
Right, she just forgetful.
I didn't think about that.
Sometimes
even after it was over with, she said, well, I didn't think the Lortab was important. Everybody got back pain.
Well, sometimes these people are like slipping a little. You'll catch them right when they're starting to, you know what I mean? Their memory is kind of, it's there, but they're kind of getting a little loose on it, and you can kind of see, what's happening and where they're heading. And I feel sorry for them when it's at that point, because they, you're starting to see real, people aging right in front of your eyes. But
right,
it is what it is, and I kind of have to fight through that sometimes emotionally. Some of the stuff we see with people, you get damn right sad sometimes.
Yeah, and I have to fight that too, because something I have to fight is like going in and you somebody with a family and they ain't got nothing to do, but then you can't get that person to buy.
Right.
We can't care more than they do. And see, me, my background, and I'm bad about that. I'll end up caring more than they do. And you end up taking that home with you. And so that's something I have to fight all the time. If you don't care, then I got to not care either.
And then, John, on the flip side, there's the people that do want coverage
and can't get it because of health.
Yeah,
that bothers me more than else.
That bothers the hell out of me, because they won't.
I can't help it. I can't get you. I can't. This person wants coverage. You don't want to leave your family in a bind, but you don't qualify for nothing.
Right.
And we'll buy it if you can get it for them.
Yep.
And them get to you. That they and then 2 months after you're there, you see them in the obituary.
Exactly, and you couldn't even get them a GI because they aged out too quick, Yeah.
But they. I had one last year, probably this time last year. And I don't sell GI stuff, but this people was asking me, they were her husband sold her, and they really wanting something on him. He's in hospice. And I said, the only thing I can get you is a 2-year wait.
Yep.
He said, I ain't got 2 years. And I said, well, we never know. He said, yes, I know. He died before I delivered her policy. What good would it done me put him in a GI?
Well, yeah, exactly.
And so he was right. He was right. He didn't have any time left. And it's and they just wait too long. We should all buy insurance when we're young and healthy. But I'm guilty of it. That's one reason I think I relate to people. I'm as guilty as anybody. The only insurance I had when I worked at plant was what the plant gave me, $40,000.
Right.
And I thought that was wonderful. Thank God I didn't die. Boy, what would my family done with only $40,000? And all my
Right.
income gone and everything. Besides, besides the personal connections, didn't know him better. Now I got
people don't think about it.
Now I got more coverage than I probably am insurance poor. What people say.
Right.
But it's you don't. It ain't something that. And, that's one thing where I connected with that lady yesterday. That was saying that she wasn't going to do anything today or anything, and we got talking about that. Just certain things that you can say to people whenever she was saying that, about the whole life and all that. I said, don't nobody know about this stuff. If you don't deal with this stuff every day, you don't know. I said, I didn't know either. So I did this for a living. And then, she sat back there and she said, I know that's right. But they just let you know you're not talking at them. That you're explaining to them. That, hey, I don't blame you for not knowing. I didn't know either. If I didn't do this for a living, I still wouldn't know.
Right.
And,
Well, John, look,
we got to do a lot of editing, Matt.
Nah, not at all, man. This is going out raw. We've been on this thing for damn near 3 hours, though, and I want to make sure I get Scott's number in here and get their plug in for their website, which is fexcontracting.com. And let me make sure I got this 1-800 number right for Scott, okay? It's 1-800-673-5309. Is that right?
I think so.
I think that's what's on the site. I think that's what's on there.
I don't call it.
I hear you. So, man, John, I really appreciate your time. It's been awesome as usual. I've learned something more every time I talk to you, and just like with a few people I talk to on these interviews, there's a few that I take notes on every time we talk. I do. So I appreciate you taking your time and doing this. And man, I just great things keep coming around. I just say we just keep getting out there and just keep pumping the apps out.
Glad to do it. I'll look you up next time I'm in the ATL.
Yeah, do that. And if you if there's anything that you want to, any closing thoughts or anything to maybe anybody new that's getting in this, is there any specific thing you could tell them that you think somebody could have told you when you first got started that might help them?
Yeah, that it's hard as hell to get the rock rolling down the hill.
Right.
All these marketers want to tell you how easy it is, and this is a simple business, but it's not easy. It's this is not hard for me now.
Right.
But it took a long time to get to where it wasn't. And everyone wants to start the top work down now, it seems like. But hook up with I'm partial to FEX.
Sure.
And you can't go wrong with FEX. With FEX contracting, and I'm not going to sit here and tell you it's for everybody. It ain't for everybody. But the thing about it is they release everybody. So you ain't got no skin in the game if it don't work out for you.
That's true.
But you've got mentors within, and they ain't the only game in town. There's other people, but just like I tell my people on number 3 on there, from who? I ain't here to promote my competitors. And they can talk their own stuff up. One thing I am is a loyal person, and I am loyal to FEX. I mean, there's nothing wrong with everybody else. I will say the same thing about EFIS. Had Travis not started the pirate ship that is FEX, I'd probably still be with EPIS and those folks. They've got a good thing and they know, but they're not the
Right.
game in town, and they're not for everybody either. But they give releases. As long as you go, it doesn't matter who you go with. If they give releases, well, big deal. You might lose something. Maybe you'll spend too much on leads. Maybe you won't learn anything from them. That's tuition. We all have to pay tuition. I've damn sure paid mine.
Right.
People go to college for years and years and spend thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars on college and don't make what we make. And then they have student loans when they come back. It's hard to get the rock rolling. But once you get and Scott says this, and I repeat it all the time. First person I ever heard say this was Scott, and he's right on the money. Is you are the worst at this today as you will ever be. However you are at your point in this career right now, what kind of final expense agent you are today, you're the worst you're ever going to be. You're the worst right now you're ever going to be, Matt.
That's reassuring.
You're going to be better. You're going to be better next week. I'm going to be better at this next week. I'm the worst I'm ever going to be right now. Unless you just close off your mind and you're not going to get any better. You're the worst right now you're ever going to be. As hard as you think this is right now, this is the hardest it's ever going to be. There was a guy on the, I'm not going to say his name, but on the FEX chat today. He was doing his numbers, 6-month numbers.
Right.
But he came from Western and Southern. He was captive career agent, Western and Southern. Well, this was half year. He was doing his half-year numbers. But he's actually only been doing this 3.5 months, 4 months.
Yeah.
He's already made more this year than he made all last year.
Yep.
As a captive agent, he's already made in 4 months more money than he made last year. And he's the worst he's ever going to be right now. He's going to get better. There's one guy on there that this is his first full year in final expense. He's at $135,000 right now, halfway through the year. His first year in final expense.
Yeah, that is good. That is
at
good.
$135,000. Running the same leads me and you run, running the same leads Tim Winters runs, the same leads Travis runs, the same leads guy doing $5,000 a month is doing and saying the leads ain't no damn good. That's nobody's running magic leads. The monkey
I wish I could find one.
Or the Tim Winters leads. I used to tease them at Equita. I'd say, "Man, I've been having a bad week. Send me some Tim Winters leads." As a joke and stuff. But the thing is, they run the same leads me and you run. The same wording on the leads that me and you run. They're seeing the same people that say, "I didn't send that card in," and they're selling them. Well, how come you ain't selling them then?
Right.
And they're getting some of them people too. They're getting them people say, "I didn't send that card in." Well, what they do is, "Okay, see you later." And they don't worry about that. They don't worry about the no's. But I would say if there's a lesson I learned in this is, and it came from Travis years ago. He calls them agent killers. Those people who won't let you in, those people who porched you, those people tell you they don't know what that card is. You ain't the first agent they porched. You ain't the first agent they lied to. You ain't the first agent they told they didn't know what the card was about. But are you going to be tougher than those others? Agent killers. them people used to bother me. Them ones, they used to really just get to me. Why would you do this? Why would you send this card in every damn time we mail here? when you don't want nothing, and this ain't like you don't know. I told you 2 months ago, you told me you didn't know what it was. I told you quit mailing the card in. Why you keep mailing them? They used to really get to me. Travis called them agent killers. Thank God for them. They thin the herd. They get rid of agents who aren't tough enough. And ever since that, it changed my perspective on it. If I get one as an agent killer.
Yeah, what I do now, John, is I've kind of taken your method where you throw that lead away, right?
Right.
What I've started doing, and maybe it's just my sick, twisted sense of humor, but if I know it's going nowhere and I'm still in the house, I'll say, hey, look, can you do me? I'm nice about it. Don't get me wrong, I'm nice, but I'll say, hey, can you do me a favor though? Next time you get one of these cards in, could you just throw it away and not send it in, or are they going to send me back out here, blah, blah. And they're like, yeah, okay, I can do that. And I say, well, you can start with this one, and I'll hand it to them. That way I don't litter up my car. So that's just a little thing that I've been doing that seems to kind of break the ice, but it's still getting my point across to them, like, you know what, don't send no more back unless you know.
Well, I did that yesterday. I door knocked a lady. I called. I had time. I called. I called her from my office, but didn't get an answer. Called her from my cell phone, didn't get an answer. So I was right there in the town, a little small town. So I was door knocked her. 6 o'clock yesterday afternoon, and she comes to the door. I have a card, my business card, and I have the lead card. So I carry the door when I door knock. And I said, hey, she's real standoffish, at the door. Open one door, wouldn't open the outer door, like I'm a robber or something.
Oh yeah. Yep.
And I said, look, I do apologize to people for door knocking because I hate door knock. I said, I've been trying to call you, and actually it looked like one of the numbers on her number, like her number was 5077, but it also looked like it could be 97, The two numbers didn't look the same. And I said, I didn't leave a message because I wasn't sure I was calling the right number. She said, yeah, you've been calling me. I don't answer if I don't know who you are. And I said, well, I didn't leave a message because I know who you was. and I said, but you sent in this card. What, did I? I said, yeah. And I said, and it's an RGI lead, so it says life insurance. I said, most people send this in looking for life insurance, burial policy. Oh, I got that all taken care of. I don't need nothing. I said, well, who you got taken care of? Well, it don't matter. She ain't going to open her door,
Right.
And I said, well, look, I don't even remember mailing that in. When did I mail it in? I said, well, I don't know. I just got it. And I said, she said, well, I don't need none of that. I bet my son mailed that in. I said, your son live here? No. I said, your son need insurance? I don't know. And I said, your son going to buy insurance for you? I wouldn't think so. I said, well, here you go. You got this card. And she had my card in her hand. She did open the door enough to take my card, And I said, here, when you get these in the future, just throw them in the trash. People have to pay for these things. And so just throw in the trash. And I won't call you, won't come by, and it's okay. And then she had that. I said, you can just keep that one. I don't need your information.
There you go.
And she had her card. She said, you need my card back? And I use hang all that. If it sparks a memory in your son, he can call me. and so I left with it. She's got that lead, I didn't have to tear that one up and throw it away. She's got it. And got my card, but that's just, I don't care. If me and you weren't talking about it, I would never thought about her again.
Right, exactly.
That's just part of doing business, part of this business. And I had a lady in another town a week or two ago chewed me out, Door knocked her because the phone didn't have a phone number on the card, and an RGI too. It says on there, $35,000 free insurance. That's what I sent it in. I thought that's a scam. Ain't no way anybody's going to give me $35,000 insurance. I said, and so I just stood there a minute. Didn't say nothing. She said, ain't you going to say anything? I said, you know what? I've been doing this a long time. And I thought I'd heard everything. But that's a new one. I said, I've never heard anybody say that before. I've never had anybody read any one of these cards and think they're getting $35,000 free insurance. It's just what it says, and I've got it in my hand. I said, tell you what I'll do. You show me where it says that on there, and I'll buy you a $35,000 policy. And she took it and looked at it and said, well, this is just some kind of scam on old people, isn't it? And I said, well, no. She said, you don't ever call me again. Don't ever come by my house. I said, ma'am, had you not sent that card in, I wouldn't be here now. If you'd have put a phone number on there, I wouldn't be here now because we'd have handled this over telephone.
That's right.
And she was still screaming as I got in the car.
I had a girl.
No, just not, I mean, but that is
the mentality sometimes.
That's part of this business. It's just how it is, you know. And if you're going to let that bother you, go get another kind of job, because this ain't
right.
This is going to. The guy I'm telling you that's out of this business now, he's much happier now. You know, he's not making the kind of money he could, but he's much happier. Because
right.
It just drove him crazy that somebody would make him spend $25 on a lead and wouldn't meet with him. You know, why would they do that?
Well, you know what? Here's the thing, though. Jim Rohn, you know who Jim Rohn is, God rest his soul, the big motivational speaker.
I know the name.
Here's the saying he always had. Okay, why do people find it shocking when they find out that a liar lied to them?
Right.
Because that's what liars do. So I've kind of adapted that to my way of thinking with this. I'm like, well, I don't worry about why they do it anymore. That's just what the hell they do sometimes. And you just move on.
And I just had a couple term cases. And the guy was questionable, but he didn't want to do it. He didn't want to do an exam. Didn't want to do an exam. What's the most they can get without an exam? It's $50,000. I went through all the questions with him, and it didn't seem like he was going to have a problem, getting it. From what he told me, His wife will put her rural neighbors fully underwritten to the exam, all everything. She was going to. Well, they weren't going to do an exam, but the company ended up wanting to do a phone interview with him, and they wouldn't answer the phone. I went by his place of business a couple of times. I said, look, they need to talk to you. You're not going to get this insurance unless they talk to you. He said, I thought you said there wasn't any. I said, there's no exam, but they want to talk to you. There's something they've seen. He said, just forget it then. So I called the company and just withdrew his, Well, what about your wife? Well, she don't have her exam or anything. Well, then they did a phone interview. After they did the exam, they did a phone interview with this lady. And then they called me. They were going to do a second phone interview. And I called them. I said, what's going on about this? You already done a phone interview, done an exam? Well, yeah, but things don't match up. On her prescription history, don't match the answer she gave. I said, what'd she tell y'all when you did the phone interview? And they said, she said no to everything, same thing she told you. I said, well, do you think she's going to give you a different answer if you call her again? I said, well, no. So they did a second phone interview. And then they did an APS on top of the exam and all this. They went all through, and I'm thinking this lady it was going to sail through in the beginning, Then they end up declining her. So I'm hating.
Wow.
I hating to call him, because they done withdrew his, and they thought they was going to get her, or I thought. I called him up, and I said, hey, well, I got some news on your wife. I couldn't get a hold of her. He said, and I said, they're not going to do it. He said, I ain't surprised what everybody else says, too.
Wasn't the first time.
Yeah. I said, I kind of would like to have that information in the beginning. He said, don't worry about it. Ain't no big deal. I ain't mad at you. I'm thinking they was going to be disappointed. They knew.
Yep.
So why'd you ever even agree to the exam?
So I guess your advice is don't let the agent killers get you.
Yeah.
Cool.
And the thing about it is, this guy, he's real friendly to be around and all. So.
All right.
Well,
look. Yes, sir. It's been a great one. I'm going to call this the mega roundtable interview with John Duggar. And John, I appreciate your time. And once I get this thing squared away and everything, I'll post it and I'll send you a link. And again, I appreciate your time and your creativity and the value you give the industry. And there's a lot of people out there, that pay attention to what you say. So I appreciate your time tonight, and I'm thinking a lot of people are going to get a lot out of this. So I appreciate it, and I hope we can talk soon again.
All right. Take it easy, man.
Okay. Thank you, John. Bye-bye.
See ya.
Wow, another great interview from John Duggar. I really appreciate John's time. 3 hours of great content brought to you free of charge from the Lead Jerk. So, as you all know, if you're in the market for the best final expense tele-leads in the industry, please visit us at www.theleadjerk.com. Again, www.theleadjerk.com.